All right, welcome to Films from the Phantom Zone, your podcast about failed and forgotten comic book movies, where we watch an old superhero movie and we decide, should this exist or does it belong in the Phantom Zone to be forgotten forever?
Forever.
Yes. My name's Arnaldo. I am your host, and I'm joined, as always, my good friend
Berto. How's it going, guys?
So, Berto, what movie are we doing today?
Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles from 1990.
From 1990, yeah. This is the original movie. The one with the cool suits.
The Henson
the puppets,
suits.
yeah, the Jim Henson suits. I don't know. I feel like this movie's fairly well known, right?
I think this was also... It is.
It's hard for me to tell because this is a staple of my childhood. I should just say right off the top.
Yeah, you, I think, are way more excited about this than I am.
This is your idea, first of all.
Yeah, because it kind of fit in with the whole like Daredevil Electra thing we had going, ninjas.
For sure.
When I was watching this, though, I think I, as a child, remember the second movie more than this one. Because when I was watching this, I was like, I don't remember any of this.
Oh, really?
I remember Casey Jones, and that's about it.
You watched the second one a lot? I watched the second one.
The second one was the one with Vanilla Ice, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
And I think I watched the second one a little bit more than this one, honestly, as a kid, because it's a little bit more kid-friendly.
Yeah, this one was a little bit on the darker side.
Yeah. Sometimes
which
literally.
Is true to the comics.
Yeah. Have you read the comics?
A little bit. Very
I read
little bit.
The first issue, and I wanted to read some more, but I found a place online where they're free.
The comics are really edgy.
I thought it was really good. I read the first issue. I liked it. But it's not what I'm used to, right?
No, nothing like the cartoon. Nothing like even this movie, which probably follows the source material more than the cartoon does, for sure.
Yeah. I want to get into it, but I feel like it's a nice kind of marriage of the two sources here. This movie is available on HBO Max, and thank God. It's nice to like get back to a movie that's like, hey, if you want to watch it,
you can
just go watch it. And if you want to be a part of this podcast, you want to like follow along what we're saying, you can watch the movie. It's nicely available. All three of these movies are available on HBO Max. We kind of jump to this one from, sometimes we do that. We'll like pick a similarity between two movies, like two franchises, and we use it as a jumping off point. So we picked the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles basically because they were originally intended as a parody of Daredevil.
They even share the same origin as Daredevil.
Exactly. So I thought before we get started, usually we talk about like the characters and the source material towards the later part of the episode. I kind of want to like, in case anyone lives under a rock for the last 5 years.
They're not as popular as they used to be, so...
And it depends on when you grew up.
Yeah.
I'm really curious if I were to like talk to like Gen Zers. I'm like, what do you know about the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles? Even though they've never been like out of production.
Probably whatever like cartoon is currently on Nickelodeon.
Exactly. So if you live under a rock, again, like for the last 35 years, the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles... That's the other thing. They're exactly what the title says.
Yeah.
Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, right? They're made up of 4 characters.
Named after Italian Renaissance artists.
Well, they're not all Italian, but Renaissance masters,
artists.
Yeah. So there is Leonardo. He is the one who wears a blue headband. It's not really a headband. There's a name for those. The mask over your face. Just over your eyes.
Is it a domino mask?
It's not, because a domino mask just goes on like this. This is like a full thing you tie behind you. There has to be a name for it, but anyway.
Headband masks.
Right. So in blue, we have Leonardo. He is the leader, brave, bold, kind of no nonsense, and he uses katana swords.
Yeah.
After him, you have Raphael.
And he's cool but rude.
I was about to say, yeah. I was going to default to like what the cartoon says about them. Yeah, cool but rude. So he's more angry, also no nonsense,
a bit edgy,
super edgy, usually kind of like he's got the New York stereotype, right?
Tough guy, huh?
Yeah. He wears red and has the size like Elektra.
Yes. Yeah.
Although I think he might predate
he might predate
they might
Elektra.
predate Elektra, actually. In orange we have Michelangelo.
He's a party dude.
He's the party dude. He's the funny one, the comic relief. He is the character, for whatever reason, sometimes when you introduce a comic relief, especially with the intent of being the comic relief, it might fall flat. Like you might have like a Jar Jar Binks on your hands where it's cringy humor.
It just doesn't land.
It feels forced. And for whatever reason, tribute to like the people who write this character, in every iteration of the Ninja Turtles, Michelangelo is always hilarious.
He's always been my favorite.
Yeah, he always works. Like, all of them are funny.
He uses the
nunchucks or nunchuckas.
Nunchaku?
Chukas.
If we're pronouncing it wrong, let us know.
Listen, this is not our area of expertise. And then in purple is Donatello. He's the nerd, the smart one.
How does the cartoon describe him?
He makes machines.
Okay.
I think is what he says. Donatello makes machines. Yeah.
Oh. That doesn't...
He's the gadget one. He's like reverse engineering things that they find on the dump. And he uses a bow staff.
Yep.
He's also quite funny, but his jokes usually don't land as much because he's kind of the awkward, nerdy one.
Yeah. He has like sarcastic remarks and stuff like that pretty often.
And he bounces off Michelangelo really well.
Yes.
So as a duo, those two are usually the ones paired up for like comedic effect, whereas the other two,
are
Leonardo
more serious.
and Raphael,
they're always sulking.
They're always headbutting, right?
Yeah.
They're led by their adoptive father, Master Splinter, who is an anthropomorphic mutated rat. But he's also the archetype of like the sensei.
Yes.
Right?
So would he be like old man mutant rat?
Right, yeah. And then oftentimes, they've got a couple. They don't have a huge like array of common villains, but the Shredder is like number one.
Shredder, and then
sometimes like Krang, Baxter Stockman.
Yeah, Bebop, Rocksteady.
Rocksteady. I almost forgot about them. Cool. With that in mind, introductions in order. Let's get into this movie, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles from 1990. There are time codes in the description if you want to jump around. We go through the plot. We get into an analysis section. We talk about the source material. We talk about what we thought about this movie as a whole. And then we do my favorite segment, Keep or Cancel, where we pick probably the most famous person in this movie. We talk about them. We decide if we're going to keep them or cancel them. In this movie, we're going to do... Shit, what's his name?
Okay.
Sam Rockwell. We're going to do Sam Rockwell.
Who does he play?
He's just like a teenager.
That's Sam Rockwell?
Yeah, that was Sam Rockwell. He has like 3 lines. He's barely in this movie, but he is by far the most famous person.
Justin Hammer himself?
Yeah. Oh, and also before we get started, the movie in general, we stream on Twitch us recording the podcast. So if you want to be a part of the podcast, if you're a fan, if you listen and you're like, I got nothing to do on Mondays, I want to be a part of this, hey, you can come on Twitch, watch us record, hang out in the chat. Cool. So let's get into it. Initial expectations. Do you want to get started?
Sure. I thought I saw this movie as a kid. I might not have, and I might have just seen the second one, like I said before. Mm-hmm. So I thought I knew what to expect, but then as I was watching, I was like, oh shit, I think this is a new movie to me. So
really?
Yeah.
So you kind of went in with fresh eyes.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
Unknowingly. But yeah.
That's happened. We did that with like, what was it? LXG, where like halfway through the movie, I was like, wait a second. I thought this was it. That's interesting that you said like you're going in with fresh eyes here, because like I couldn't imagine a scenario where I've never seen this before. I've seen this movie maybe 100 times. And then that's like... Yeah.
I think I just only saw like part 2 and 3.
Well, I've only seen 3 maybe 2 times as a kid.
I remember not really liking that one.
It was my least favorite. I watched these 2. 1 and 2 I watched a lot.
Okay.
3 I barely touched. So
2 was probably on TV more often than the first one, which is probably where I saw it.
Yeah. You're probably right. So for me, I just want to paint a picture. The year is probably like 1992. I live in Puerto Rico. I don't speak English, and I am in love with the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. It was like all I watched.
All right.
Probably in Spanish, I would imagine, because I didn't speak English. So I actually put on an episode of the TV show, and I'm like, I sort of remember parts of this. It's weird because I remember watching it, but I don't remember any of the plots. I don't remember any of the stories because I was just that little. You know what I mean?
I'm in a similar boat when it comes to the cartoon, because I definitely remember like I owned like VHSs that had multiple episodes on it and stuff. Same. I don't remember what happened.
Yeah. Before 5 years old, it's hard to like really kind of remember things solidly. But I remember the toys that I had like vividly. I remember this movie because I watched it a ton, and the next movie. But this is just kind of like the first thing I was ever a fan of, like truly a fan of, was Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Okay.
And I was like 4 years old in Puerto Rico. There's no way I watched this movie in Spanish. So this and the next movie might have been like one of the first bits of like English media
like
I was
culture.
consuming. Yeah. When I say I was like a fan of the Ninja Turtles as a kid, like I'm not kidding. I had a lot of shit. A lot of memorabilia, a lot of little shoes with the little, like, the guys on the side, all of that. Backpacks, you name it. So this movie in particular, I'd seen a lot as a kid, but I've seen it as an adult also. And we watched it about a year ago, like during COVID lockdown. So I'm very, like, familiar with it.
Right.
I knew what to expect. No big surprises here for me.
Okay.
Plot, you ready?
Yeah, let's
All
go.
right, So we open on the New York skyline, accented with World Trade Center's Twin Towers. A news report. Yeah, it's 1990.
Yeah.
But it's always fun. Maybe fun's not the word. It's always interesting to, like, put on a movie that takes place before and they show the New York skyline. You see them.
Yeah.
And they stand out more now, obviously, because, they're missing.
And there's people alive right now that have no idea what the New York skyline looked like back then, which is weird to think about.
Surely they teach this in schools.
I mean,
we lived it. Yeah. But, like, I mean, surely now it's in, like, textbooks, right?
I'm sure it is.
It has to. There's no way it's not.
Yeah.
There's no. I'd be interested in, like, reading, like,
what they say in the textbooks.
Yeah, because, like, revisionist history and whatever. Like,
right.
What does the textbook say exactly? But anyway, a news report by April O'Neil plays, with her describing a rise in crime that plagues the city. We see pickpocketing, the emptying of a truck, and a lady's television stolen without anyone noticing. No description of the culprits have been reported because there haven't been any witnesses. April suggests that this must be a coordinated effort by a new crime organization. She complains that the mayor and the chief of police do not take these theories seriously.
And then we get a montage of...
No, that was the montage. All that.
Kids stealing things. Basically, teenagers being little shits.
Well, because they're part of the foot.
Yeah.
I really like a lot of this montage. It's just such a good way of kind of bringing you into the story quickly, Because
this is not a long movie at all.
No, it's an hour and a half. It's super brisk. And I think my chief complaint about this movie is that it's too short.
It needs to be maybe like 20 minutes longer.
I could really go with an extra like 20, 30 minutes. At least, a good 2-hour film. The movie doesn't feel rushed. It just feels like I could get more. You know what I mean? They left some on the table.
The ending feels a little bit abrupt.
Maybe, yeah. We'll get to it, obviously. But there's some really good, I think, filmmaking here because there's that shot with the truck. It's all in one take. The camera is on the back of a truck because they're stealing, like, electronics, right?
Yeah.
Back of a truck. The guy's unloading it. The camera follows the guy seamlessly. It comes back to the truck. The truck is empty now. The implication is, like, it would take a band of ninjas to steal all of this stuff, which is exactly what it is. But, the movie is informing you.
And the guy's like,
Yeah. But I'm like, how do they do that? And it's probably like a couple boxes that are like glued together in a way that it implies the whole truck is full. And they can very easily just like move those empty boxes out of the way.
It's done in like one shot.
It's one shot.
Panning over.
Yeah, exactly. But I think it's a very creative way of like actually impressing the viewer. I mean, like, oh, ninjas. It's fucking ninjas. How else can they steal so many, like so much electronics so quickly, right?
Yeah.
April leaves her news station in a yellow raincoat. That's only important because she wears yellow. She wears a yellow like jumpsuit in the cartoon. It's an Easter egg, people. She is frightened into an alley by a rat and encounters a robbery in progress. The criminals move to attack her when the street lights are suddenly broken and a fight ensues in the dark. Sounds of weapons and punches are heard, and when the police arrive to light the scene, the criminals are tied up and April is safe. April sees a sai left behind and quickly hides it in her purse. Raphael looks on from the shadows.
Because that's his sai.
It's a sai, yeah. The sai is the weapon of Raphael. We mentioned that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I was like, fuck.
All right. If you live in New York City, you're not going to be that scared of a rat. If you live in New York City, you see a rat on a daily basis.
I mean, you think?
I visited there for a couple days. And
you saw rats?
Yes.
Oh, wow. I didn't see a rat. I've been to New York a couple times.
Especially in the subways.
Oh, that's so gross. This is Pizza Rat. You seen Pizza Rat?
I haven't seen Pizza Rat.
You've never seen Pizza Rat?
No.
There's a viral video that from a couple years ago of a rat pulling a full slice of New York pizzas, like the big ones, up the stairs of a subway. And they have him on video. They just recorded him, and he's pulling an entire slice of pizza.
He's taking it to the Turtles.
Yeah, and it's like the most New York thing ever.
Yeah.
And that's why it went viral. You got to look up Pizza Rat, man. Come on.
I can't believe I haven't seen that.
I'm so surprised. You're usually really tuned in on pop culture.
I usually.
No, and I really like this because, again, they're supposed to be ninjas. And what the first thing ninjas are like stealthy.
Yeah.
So it's cool that,
they literally do this in the shadows.
Yeah, it's cool. This is their introduction. We meet the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles while they celebrate their victory walking the storm drainage system, not the sewers. So I'm going to stop right there. I just want to make something clear. The Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles don't live in the sewers. They live in storm drainage systems. A sewer is where sewage goes through.
Yeah, that's like shit.
So your shit water from your toilets and your drains and all that stuff, right? Yeah. It would be fucking disgusting if anybody lived down there, even turtles.
Yeah, sometimes a wall of water comes and you got to take off your clothes and hold it up to the ceiling so you don't get wet.
What's that from?
Always Sunny.
Oh, yeah.
Charlie travels
in the sewers. Yeah. But people colloquially call it sewers when they're actually probably stormwater drains.
Yeah.
So
it's not as gross. It's still gross.
It's as dirty as like the street is. You know what I mean? It's where water goes after it rains, but it's cleanish.
A little bit dirtier than the streets.
Sure. But it's not sewage, right?
Right.
But when people see like underwater tunnels, they're going to call, or underground tunnels, or water
sewers.
They call them sewers.
Yeah.
But it's not a sewer. I just want to point that out. They also travel through like subway tunnels, abandoned subway places and stuff.
Yeah.
Anyway, they go back and forth workshopping cool words and one-liners for a job well done. Upon arriving back at their abandoned subway station home, Master Splinter insists they meditate on their first outing and lectures them on how they should carry themselves after Splinter's death. But Michelangelo is already ordering pizza and playing tequila. Love that. He lectures an angry Raphael that he must let go of the sigh he lost. Michelangelo and Donatello scare the pizza delivery guy, and Raphael leaves to see a movie. I just love that it's, again, this movie's short. They have to do everything pretty quickly, but they can very quickly like establish who these characters are by Splinter trying to tell them, think about, let's meditate on this, victory that you guys had. And then the way
they all react to that.
Yeah, no, and meanwhile, Michelangelo's literally on the phone ordering pizza.
Yeah.
And he's threatening the guy. He's like, if you put anchovies on this pizza, I swear I will come find you.
Also, the turtles are kind of dicks to the pizza delivery guy.
Yeah, they're not nice to him. But it's also like, it's New York. I feel like everyone's dicks to everybody and it's fine. They
don't even tip him.
Well, he was late.
He couldn't find the fucking address because it's a storm drain.
Yeah, this is back in the day where it was like 233rd and an 8th. Yeah. And he's like, an 8th?
And he's like, where's an 8th?
This is pre-Harry Potter, by the way.
They're like, oh, down here, dude. You're late.
This is back when if a pizza arrived more than 30 minutes later, it was like, that was a problem. It's like 30 minutes or less.
Pizza time.
Pizza time.
Yeah, and like they're dicks to the pizza guy. They don't tip him. I have issues with this.
Sure, we that work in the service industry. But it still makes for a funny gag.
Yeah.
They put on the radio and it's tequila and they start dancing. They're like, ba-da-ba-da-da-da-da. Also, I fail to believe that all 5 of them are sharing one pizza because he orders one pizza.
Was it even a large?
Yeah, it was a large. It was like a large extra cheese. And
if everyone had like a slice and a half.
Yeah, that's not enough. These are like...
How many slices do they cut those into?
Anthropomorphic mutated turtles. Like
they should have gotten 2
They should
pizzas.
be eating a lot of food.
Yeah,
I would imagine they'd each eat a pizza themselves.
Oh,
know?
Man.
Anyway, get more pizza. Fun fact here, by the way. Like the official pizza sponsor for this film was Pizza Hut.
Was it?
Yeah. They had a huge marketing campaign. They had
Why was Domino's featured in this movie?
Exactly. Pizza Hut didn't deliver at the time. Back in the 80s, they were like they were the restaurant. Yeah. They didn't start delivering till a few years after. And around this time, a few markets were delivering, but they didn't want to be...
It wasn't widespread.
Yeah. They didn't want to be the fast food pizza place. They want to be like the cool 50, 60-ish vibe
they used
pizza
to have, like,
restaurant with the jukebox.
Buffets,
and
salad buffets
Hell
and stuff.
Yeah.
Pizza Hut used to be cool.
Pizza Hut used to be so cool. And you'd go, you'd see your friends, you'd do Book It. You remember Book It?
I remember Book It.
Hell yeah, you got a free pizza if you read books.
Pizzas? Fuck yeah.
Pan pizzas are also really good. Pizza, they fell pretty big.
Now Domino's is good.
Domino's is delicious now because one time they like had so many complaints about how bad they were.
And like, maybe we should
Don't
fix
quote me, but like the CEO was like, "Fuck this, we got to change everything." They overhauled everything top down, all their recipes.
This was like just a little over a decade ago, right?
Yeah, it was fairly recent.
Yeah.
And now they're like fairly good pizza, honestly.
I'd say out of like the three big ones being like, Papa John's, Domino's, Pizza Hut. I think Domino's is the top now.
Hard agree, definitely. Pizza Hut has its moments.
And they still made the stuffed crust pizza thing.
Stuffed crust pizza, pan pizzas are really nice and crispy. But like, you can't go back in time and like, be in that moment of like,
Pizza
all right,
Hut,
it's
like,
Sunday.
in its prime.
Yeah, it's Sunday afternoon. You and your family are going to Pizza Hut. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, that was fucking cool. Do you remember they had like the little quarter machines and you get like a tattoo?
Yeah.
Next to the jukebox in the arcade.
I remember also like around the time when like early 2000s, delivery might have still been kind of a new thing for them, but like if you got a pizza delivered, you'd get like a DVD movie also.
The hell? I don't know.
Yeah, that's how I watched Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey.
Wow.
Pizza Hut also had PlayStation demo discs.
I sort of remember that. Did you know that Domino's, this is a wild tangent. Domino's invented like pizza delivery?
Really?
Yeah, like delivery food was sort of a thing depending on the restaurant. A lot of Chinese places
I feel like it was
would do
more
delivery.
of a thing just in like New York City though, or like densely populated areas.
Pizza wasn't widely delivered. You had to go get it.
Right.
And Domino's was the company
eat in
that
a pizza parlor.
Right. Domino's was the one that would be like, no, let's do delivery. Let's set ourselves apart from delivery, because now when you think of food delivery, first thing you think about is pizza.
Yeah.
Because every pizza place has to deliver, or else it's not going to work. Right.
I feel like that's the most common food to get delivered.
Exactly.
Also.
Domino's did it.
Thank you, Domino's.
That's their little contribution to society. Also, like we said, it's not bad pizza. Let's move on.
It's much better now.
So they had to use Domino's for product placement because of the delivery thing. And I think in the next few movies, they're just like, this is stupid. It's a movie. Here's a prop pizza box. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And we can pretend. But yeah, that's why there's Domino's and
okay.
the guys at Domino's driver.
Yeah.
I mean,
even though Pizza Hut's the sponsor. That's weird.
Oh, so I was saying Pizza Hut boxes at the time had like the Ninja Turtles on them. That was like part of the marketing campaign.
Oh, okay. Yeah, because Ninja Turtles love pizza.
Hell yeah. So Raphael goes to the movies. He sees critters disguised in a trench coat and fedora. So this is also because it was New Line Cinema's other movie. We're going to get into New Line Cinema a little bit, but he witnesses a purse snatcher and stops the burglary, but lets the perps get away. In the park, the two purse snatchers are caught by Casey Jones, a local vigilante who doles justice with baseball bats, cricket bats, and hockey sticks.
Basically any sports gear he can find.
Yeah, he's like the sports guy.
Unhinged, too. He's clearly unhinged.
Yeah. Raphael stops him from hurting the perps, thinking he's going a bit too far. The two quip and fight, and Casey gets the best of Raphael, running off, calling him a freak. Enraged, Raphael chases Casey and gets hit with a taxi cab. The passenger inside the cab yells, "What the heck was that?" To which the driver replies, "Looked like sorta a big turtle in a trench coat. You're going to LaGuardia, right?" That might be my favorite line in this whole movie.
Just like New Yorkers don't give a shit about anything. It's like, oh yeah,
That's
whatever.
a joke, yeah.
But I'm taking you to LaGuardia.
I just love like it happens, and
so the guy in
like,
the cab
"I
is
don't
clearly
know,
a tourist.
Yeah,
And the cab driver is
Sure.
clearly a local.
yeah. He's like, "Oh man, looks sort of like a big turtle in a trench coat. What more do you want from me?"
It's like that's what it was.
I love the soundtrack to this movie. Specifically, there's a lot of just like jazz drumming going on whenever there's fighting. Did you notice that?
A little bit.
Yeah, and so it starts here with the Casey Jones fight because they're just like kind of sparring with each other a little bit. He's like, "I don't want to fight you, man, but if you're gonna push me around, whatever."
Yeah, like jazzy fight music.
Well, it's not something I see in a whole lot of other movies. I think the only other time we said this was during Batman Forever, because it has a very jazzy soundtrack.
Mm.
But every time they fight, it's just like a drum set, and the guy's just kind of like riffing it, whatever he wants to do.
Yeah.
And I think that's I like that pairing.
It could have gone really bad if the guy was not talented.
Yeah. I mean, this movie in general has a lot of like really 90s things.
Yes.
It is very much like set in this time period. It's a product of
It's
like, this
100%
decade.
a 90s film.
Yes. But it's also, and we'll get more into it, I feel like it's really kind of pushing some of the best of the era. And that's why like you can watch it now and appreciate it. It doesn't feel as dated because it's not doing like the worst things of the 90s. It's kind of doing the best things of the 90s.
Which is crazy because it came out at the beginning of the 90s.
Sure. I mean, it's definitely like 80s, 90s. It's 1990, so it's 80s, 90s vibes, right?
It's probably more...
It's a late 80s movie.
But yeah. I mean, it was made in the 80s. I mean, it came out in the 90s.
Exactly.
But so. I get what you're saying there.
Yeah. You like Casey Jones?
I do. I've always liked Casey Jones, though. I think he's a psychopath.
Yeah. I like him in this movie, though. But that's also kind of his
thing. I wish he wore his hockey mask.
He had it on for...
I wish he wore it more.
It was like 1 minute of hockey mask.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was a cool mask.
Yeah. Because that's his thing. He wears a hockey mask and he beats the shit out of people.
Yeah, seriously. So back at the hideout, Raphael arrives to Splinter, who lectures him about his anger. Splinter tells him that he is unique among his brothers for not seeking out help and allows him to face his anger alone, so long as he does not forget he has brothers and Splinter to help. I feel like Splinter's just like the best dad ever.
He definitely tries to be.
Yeah, like he always has the right thing to say. Yeah. You know what I mean?
He understands how hot-headed Raphael is.
Splinter always has like the right thing to say. Like that's what makes him a good dad. Like he sees that Raphael is like the loner among the four brothers, and he doesn't try to change him. He's like, that's fine, as long as you don't forget, like, we are here to help you when you need it. But you are perfectly like capable of figuring stuff out on your own.
Yeah.
You know, that's a good parent.
It's good advice.
Yeah.
Good guidance. Just all around good dad vibes from Splinter.
Seriously. This was the movie that taught me about curse words, by the way, now that I think about it. Because he curses, he says damn like 5 times.
He says damn a lot. I mean, he's like yelling. He's like, damn. Don't they say shit a few times too?
I don't remember shit. I
feel like someone says shit. It might not be Raphael. It might just be one of the it might be Casey, actually.
Oh, actually, maybe. I don't know. April's boss, Charles, and his son, Danny, visit her, concerned for her safety after the mugging. Danny, seen earlier working as a pickpocket, steals a $20 bill from April's wallet. April interviews the chief of police and inquires if he'll admit to the rumors of a gang called the Foot Clan. The Turtles watch her on TV in awe of her beauty. I love that they're all just like, there she is, the girl we saved. She's so hot.
Just being horny teenagers.
Yeah. A silhouetted figure, the Shredder, also watches her interview and throws a dagger at her face, breaking a TV set. He commands that she should be found and silenced. At the police station where April conducted her interview with the chief of police, we see Danny getting arrested. Danny
is kind of a little shit.
Yeah. I want to get more into Danny and his part in this movie a little bit later. I was like thinking in the beginning where they're stealing like random used TVs that obviously they can't like sell anymore. Like,
yeah,
what do they do with those? And then Shredder's just got them all set up like in his like hideout.
What exactly was his plan with those?
I guess they're just flipping it for profit.
Okay, you gotta fund your ninja clan somehow.
Exactly.
Guess.
The same reason why, like, you know, Fast and Furious are stealing DVD players.
Yeah.
Here they're stealing like VHSs and TVs and radios.
It was like expensive DVD players in Fast and Furious. Oh, that was back when DVD players were expensive.
Yeah, that's like the equivalent of like a PS5 now.
Yeah,
which are in
you can't find
high
one.
demand.
You can't find one right now, even if you had the money.
Yeah. April misses her subway train and is encountered by the Foot Clan. She tries fighting back with her purse and the size she took from Raphael. Raph shows up, having been following her, and fights off the Foot, taking an unconscious April through the tunnels back to their hideout. Unbeknownst to Raphael, he's being followed by a Foot member. April awakens in their lair and screams at the sight of Splinter and the Turtles. She assumes she's dreaming. She says, "Why don't I ever dream of Harrison Ford?"
Very much a line of the times.
I was going to say, no, because Harrison Ford is still a hunk, and he's 78 years old.
Right, but women aren't going around like, oh, I want to fuck Harrison Ford.
Older ladies are.
Probably.
Of all like older kind of, you know, like actors or whatever, he still looks great.
He aged very gracefully.
Yeah. Oh, set photos came out today of him on Indiana Jones.
Does he still look like a badass?
He's wearing a mask and stuff. It's hard to tell, but yeah, he's, you know, wearing his getup.
Is he still stapling the hat to his head?
Is that what they did in Indiana Jones?
He did it.
Really?
Yeah. I guess the hat kept falling out. I don't know if this is a myth or if this actually happened.
Sounds like a myth. Why would they strap it to him?
The myth is that Harrison Ford himself stapled it to his head.
That's disgusting.
Don't know how true that is. We might need to fact check that later. Unrelated to the movie we're watching right
Seriously,
now.
Yeah.
But yeah, like if I saw giant turtles and rats surrounding me, I'd probably freak out too, honestly.
I love their little hideout. Their home is so cute. It's just like an abandoned subway station. Apparently it's modeled after, I don't know, look, I'm not from New York, but there's an abandoned subway station in New York that a train will make a stop at just so that you can see it. You can't get out. But
Oh,
you
like
can,
they won't let you out?
yeah, but you
Okay.
can stop and see it, and it's like from the 30s. You know, they keep it. It's basically like a museum piece, you know.
Okay.
And then it'll just
Do they
keep
upkeep
going.
it, or they just kind of let
I
it?
think they clean it
Okay.
at the very least, and there's lights and stuff, obviously. But it's modeled after that. You know, it's kind of like
Yeah, like the
'cause
old style.
That's what they would have
subway
found.
stations,
There's plenty of subway stations that are just like completely like out of use.
which is weird.
And
With
so they're
that
just
many people in New York
sitting
City, you
there.
think they'd take advantage of all the space
Well,
that they
would've-
can?
You know, they would have had to like build new ones. To, like up. I don't know. I don't know how any of that shit works. So Splinter recounts their origin story to April. 15 years ago, Splinter was a pet of his master Hamato Yoshi, mimicking his movements and learning the ways of the ninja when he came to America. He was a lone rat in the sewers when he came by 4 baby turtles crawling in a shattered canister of radioactive material. Splinter collected the turtles in an old coffee can and realized the next day that they were all growing in size and intellect. He trained them in ninjutsu and named them after the Renaissance masters: Leonardo, Michelangelo, Donatello, and Raphael. So this story is like almost word for word from the first issue of the comic.
Yeah, which was the whole Daredevil connection too, because
Yes.
it's supposed to be the same radioactive waste that gave Daredevil his powers.
Exactly. So in the comic, it's much more up on the surface, where in here it's just like, oh, I found them in the sewer already. But in the comic, there's a truck that's gonna hit a person, and a little boy saves them. A canister from the truck bounces off. In the comic, says it bounces a couple times, and it shatters a fishbowl that the boy was holding with the turtles in it. The turtles fall down to the sewer with the chemicals, and we don't see the little boy anymore, but that little boy would have been Daredevil, right? Because the Ninja Turtles comic was written as sort of a parody. Yeah, I guess a parody, yeah, of Daredevil.
Yeah, they wrote it kind of as a joke
It was always going to be a joke until
until
people kept buying it. And we're going to get into that, but
it was a big surprise that it kicked off.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, so that's super interesting. But in that comic, it's pretty much that's their origin. To like the coffee can, to like the words that they use. They're playing very close homage to the comic in this. Oh, the Shredder part. They save that for later. In the comic, they talk about Shredder right away.
Yeah, in the movie to talk about in the last like 20 minutes of the movie.
Yeah. This scene, I like it a lot because they show the little puppets, little turtle puppets.
Yeah, the cute little
which
turtle
are so
puppets.
adorable. Jim Henson's Creature Shop is amazing.
This was Jim Henson's like last work before he died, right?
He died like the year after this, I think.
Okay.
The turtles take April back to her home through the sewers, where they have pizza, and Mikey does his impressions. They return to they just have a good time. They have a little party.
Yeah.
They return to their lair to find it ransacked and Splinter missing. They go back to April's and seek of refuge.
So April like immediately becomes best friends with these turtles.
I mean, you can't not, though. You know what I mean? They're just so fun.
They're just cool dudes.
Yeah, hell yeah.
Yeah, because they're just at her house like cracking jokes and stuff, and then she's cracking jokes back, and then they're like, all right, we gotta go, bye. And she's like, oh.
Yeah, they're just having a good time. Okay, and this movie is written well enough to where like you believe that these characters are real. Like you would have a good time with them
Yeah.
if they were with you too. The chief of police calls Charles about Danny and implies he'll let him go in exchange for April to drop the foot story.
What?
You don't remember that part?
I do, but it's like
Like, I got your kid
like-
here. It's blackmail.
it's the police chief is blackmailing.
Yeah. Like the
us-
media.
Yeah.
It's very illegal.
Like, holy shit.
Yeah. Charles in turn goes to April's the next morning, and the turtles show off their stealth skills. But Danny catches a glimpse of one. Charles lectures Danny for getting arrested, and Danny runs off into the subway.
This scene is very 90s with like the whole like sneaking around and like almost get caught.
You think that's
Repeated.
a 90s trope?
It seems like a 90s trope.
But they're ninjas. Which is my favorite part about this scene, because she's like, oh my god, you guys have to hide. She turns around. They're already gone.
Right. But the scene plays out like a comedy scene.
Yeah.
It is like a
This should
trope
be
in like
funny.
comedy movies when somebody's
Oh,
hiding
yeah,
and then,
okay.
oh, let me check the shower curtains. And he's
I
looking
think I know
around,
what you
he's
mean,
up
yeah.
there. He almost gets caught when April like sees him, and she's like, ah.
This is such a movie thing because it's obviously like editing and it's just planned out. But like me as a viewer, from when I was a kid to now, when I watched it a few days ago, I buy into it. I'm like, she turns her head.
You're like,
they come
oh
back.
man, is he gonna catch him?
They're all gone. No, I'm saying I'm impressed by like their skills. Like they're gone, or one's like hanging on the roof, or like in the ceiling. Another one's under the table, gets seen by Danny and then disappears. Like their ability to like disappear, even though it's all like
if they were a really good
magic.
ninja, they wouldn't have been seen in the first place.
Yeah. To be fair, he was only seen through a mirror. He's probably not.
True.
He's probably only thinking about direct lines of sight.
Okay. And Danny like accidentally saw him in the mirror.
Yeah,
like, what
exactly.
the fuck is that? Danny doesn't like freak out though. He just kind of goes under
He's
the table.
Like, who the fuck is this? At a warehouse club, basically, 90s youths are playing pool, skateboarding, gambling, and smoking. I just want to point out, this is the most ballsy thing I've ever seen in a movie, by the way. The scene opens, and it's this boy, and he must be, 11 years old,
like
at
smoking
the
a cigar?
oldest, smoking a stogie, playing pool. No camera tricks, like he is actually
literally
smoking
doing
this cigar, yeah.
They wouldn't do this in movies anymore.
That's what I'm saying. It's the most ballsy thing I've ever seen put on film.
This is more of an 80s thing than a 90s thing. Like this reminds me a little bit of like stuff they would do in like Indiana Jones and stuff like that. Basically like early PG-13 type movies or old Spielberg movies even.
Yeah.
Like they didn't have an issue with having young kids do like,
but it's not a teenager smoking. That kid was like 10
he was an
years
actual
old.
child, yeah.
At the oldest 10 years old smoking the cigar.
I mean, I don't have a problem with it.
No,
which
again,
might be a weird thing to say. But...
well, sure. There is some ethics here, but from a filmmaking perspective, it's great because in one shot, it tells you everything you need to know.
Yeah.
Like, here's a place where kids are allowed to just do whatever the fuck they want.
Which is why they go there, probably.
And you do that in one shot.
Yep.
Here's a kid smoking a cigar playing pool. Something that should not be happening.
That would enrage parents today.
Yeah. I think
which is crazy because those parents probably watched this movie when they were kids.
Yes, exactly. An older teen, played by Sam Rockwell, introduces a couple new members to their hangout. All the kids are overseen by Tatsu, Shredder's second in command. In another room, older teenagers are training in martial arts. A gong sounds, and everyone files into a large room. Shredder appears. He awards a new member a foot mask and headband. He tells his followers they are a family, and he is their father. And they face a new enemy, freaks of nature. Danny speaks up to Master Shredder, having caught a glimpse of one of the turtles in April's apartment.
So, I mean, honestly, this scene's good too. It shows you that all of Shredder's like Foot Clan soldiers are basically like kids that he's just recruiting off the streets.
He's doing all the legwork. He's recruiting these people and training them from the ground up because that's how you get loyalty, right? Yeah. Like
it's a cult.
It's a cult. Yeah. and that's what I wanted to get to later on is that what Shredder's doing here is he's finding like these rogue kids
and indoctrinating them.
Yeah, and giving them a sense of belonging, which is what cults do.
Yep.
Cults start off by saying like, hey, you know how you get made fun of this thing that you like? Well, here's a group of people that like the same thing and they take it seriously. You think the earth is flat? Well, don't do we. Yeah. Let me hook you up with a bunch of other people that also think the earth is flat. You're not a weirdo for thinking the earth is flat. You're part of this family now. Yeah. Like it gives
this is your new family now. Pay me money so we keep you here.
Right. It gives people a sense of belonging, and people will pay all sorts of not money. Like these kids, like they're pretty much selling a piece of their soul.
Yeah.
Just to hang on to that, right?
And that theme kind of does go throughout this movie.
Absolutely.
It's never really resolved.
So, I want to get to it when we get to the analysis of this movie, but the big themes here are family, brotherhood, and fatherhood specifically, right? And they do such a good job, I think, of showing these themes by juxtaposing the Foot Clan with the Turtles. Foot Clan is a cult, and they pretend to be a family, but they're not a family.
No.
They're indoctrinated.
They're being used. They're being
manipulated. I mean, they literally say that later on in the movie, but I always thought this looked really fun. This warehouse, by the way. They're just like skateboarding inside, and they got like ramps, and they've got
breaking all the rules.
They have like tons of soda. I think there's an implication that there's beer there, but they don't show it. But they've got soda galore, and then arcade games and shit.
Man, I want to go to an arcade.
Mostly like inside bowling alleys, I feel.
Yeah,
That's
like
where you
Dave
get
and
an arcade.
Buster's.
Or Dave and Buster's.
We should really go there.
I've only been to Dave and Buster's like twice in my life. We gotta go.
It's just Chuck E. Cheese for adults.
What did I do? Yeah, for sure. So yeah, so they know where to go now because Danny's seen one of these freaks of nature.
And they have
you know what?
And they have their target now, the turtles.
Yeah, I completely forgot to even mention like Shredder's in the scene. What do you think about Shredder? His costume, his look, his
this is like the first time you like see him. Yeah. The costume, I mean, it looks like the Shredder. Like it's a good costume.
Yeah.
Again, especially for the year that this was made in. He does seem threatening.
Absolutely.
So I mean, honestly, this was a good reveal for the villain.
Yeah, I think this whole thing's perfect, honestly. I think it's perfect. I think his introduction, you've got this top-down shot. There's like a big kind of like one light source and a big shadow, and you just see like this creeping shadow walking in, and then everyone's quiet. They're all waiting. You get immediate like a sense of importance within the scene.
Like this is their master.
Exactly. The way it's filmed tells you exactly what you need to know. You remember how we talk about show don't tell? This is show don't tell.
Yeah.
Right? This, for me, I think harkens back to all the way to Star Wars, where
I was thinking that too.
Yeah.
Which scene in particular were you thinking of though?
The first one with Darth Vader.
Okay. I was thinking of Empire Strikes Back when we first see the Emperor and Vader bows down.
Okay, yeah. Or I thought you meant like Return of the Jedi where the Emperor arrives and he's got like all the...
That one too.
All three of those scenes.
Of them, yeah.
Why? Because they're very smart ways of showing you
the power dynamic.
The power, exactly.
Yeah.
Here's the power of this villain, Darth Vader. The very first scene in Star Wars. They're being attacked. They break the door down. Once the soldiers have already stormtroopers, but you don't know that. Once the stormtroopers have already killed everybody, right? They line up, they file up, and here comes Darth Vader. The music plays, and you immediately know. This is the villain.
He's in charge.
He's the villain for the rest of these movies, right? It's just a visual power that
right.
And this is, and I mean, basically all movies post, the 80s are somehow like influenced by Star Wars nowadays.
Yeah.
But I feel like this is one where they're like, you need to do that when we introduce a Shredder. You need to immediately know like he's powerful. And I love his costume. His cape looks a little garbage baggy. I'll give you that. It looks plasticky.
I could do a little,
but he also doesn't wear it after that.
Right.
And it's because in the...
He just put it on for appearances.
Yeah, exactly. It's just ceremonial. Because in the comic, he doesn't have a cape. And then in the cartoon, he does. Because, like, supervillains, capes,
so this is more of an Easter egg in that regard?
I think it's a way of kind of like, hey, here's a bit of mix of the two or whatever.
Because the cartoon was... before the movie, obviously, but only by a few years, right?
Yeah. So this movie does a really good job of taking from both. It's kind of a marriage of both the comic and the cartoon. Oh, man. And the way, Tatsu's just kind of like rolling his thing. You see his little spiky armor. His mask looks really good. He looks pretty much just like he does in the comic. It's just such a good introduction of this villain. Something I want to talk about a little bit later, but I guess we can mention it now, by the way, is there is a little bit of whitewashing here. Because both of these characters, Tatsu and Shredder, are voiced over by white actors, by Americans.
Do you think they did it just to make them easier to understand?
Well, as far as I know, both of those actors speak English.
Okay. Fluently? Because
I don't know.
Sometimes I get it. Like with those actors, it's a little bit difficult to understand. For example... Jackie Chan in the first Rush Hour, it's kind of hard to understand what he's saying. That was also his first American movie.
Was it really?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. I don't know. I'm going to be honest with you.
I mean, I'm glad Jackie Chan got to voice himself in that movie.
Yeah. But it's something to talk about next week because in the sequel, Shredder's played by a different actor.
Okay. Like completely. A
completely different actor, but is still voice-overed by the same voice actor.
Is it the voice actor from the cartoon?
I don't think so.
Oh, okay.
No. Well, look, it's a guy named something McCarran. He's like an Irish guy.
Okay.
Yeah, he's white. Although on his IMDb it says like he's Japanese American because apparently he was born in Japan, but he's absolutely not Japanese.
So legally he is, but
Yeah. But the second actor from the next movie is very fluent in English. Very fluent. Because
they still didn't use him to
yeah, no,
talk?
I guess at that point it's more like a continuity thing, but like even so.
If you already changed the actor.
Yeah. At least with him, like his mouth is covered a lot. Tatsu, like you can see where it doesn't match up with his mouth. Yeah. Like if you look at his mouth, it doesn't match up at all. Yeah. Exactly. And I don't think that was intentional. I don't think that was what they were going
that wasn't
for.
an Easter egg.
Yeah. So Leonardo and Raphael argue about what their next move should be. Mikey and Donatello recognize a classic fight and excuse themselves. Raphael goes to the rooftop to blow off some steam and is spotted by Casey Jones from another rooftop. He's silently flanked by foot soldiers.
So is Casey just watching rooftops?
Pretty much. I guess.
Fucking weirdo.
Yeah. Raphael fights off the foot as best as he can, but is overtaken and thrown through a skylight, leaving him unconscious. The foot jump into April's apartment, and the turtles fight them off. Mikey gets into a nunchuck competition with a foot member. There's another Wheel of Fortune reference. We keep running into these Wheel of Fortune references. Again, the only reason I bring them up is because Wheel of Fortune's still going on. So it's as relevant now as it was then. The rooftop fight with Raphael and the Foot Clan is so good.
Yeah.
Because
it's one of the better fights in the movie, I think.
There's a lot of good fights in this movie. But it's in the daylight. It's so
Which
it would
isn't
be so
done
hard.
a lot, even in movies today.
Yes, because it's hard to hide things, right? Like you can't hide mistakes. You can't really you can't hide anything. And here is like this stunt actor in a heavy ass like prosthetic suit, right? Like actually doing flips, kicking good fights with like other stuntmen.
Props to the stuntmen
and
in this movie.
All looks so good. I especially really like that rooftop fight with Raphael. But then in the rest of the fight, they're making quips and jokes and stuff, which is it's all fine. All that stuff's good, I think. It is a little slapsticky here, if I could point out a criticism. It is a little kiddie and slapsticky in parts.
Isn't it intended to be?
Yeah,
though?
I mean that's kind of the balance
this
you have
movie
to strike.
was marketed at kids, right? Despite it being kind of a dark movie.
Yeah.
Although, and we might talk about this later, I don't think they made any toys based on the movie.
They did. I owned all of them.
Based on the movie? Based on this movie?
It might have been the next one. I'm sure they did for both, honestly.
Because I thought I read something saying that like they didn't like how dark the movie was.
So, I mean, I had the toys, but you might be right. It might be that they were based off the next movie.
Maybe. And we can look into that.
I definitely own them. I probably still have them up in my mom's attic. I don't think we tossed them.
I think I have a bunch of Star Wars toys.
I have those too. Don't you?
Grandparents' garage.
Don't you worry. The fight leads into the antique shop downstairs, and the turtles are overwhelmed without the help of Raphael, who is unconscious. Casey Jones shows up to defend his little green friend. A fire starts. April and the turtles escape through a hidden door as Casey holds the foot back. Her phone rings and Casey hears the message. Charles is firing April for not dropping the foot story. So, on the antique thing, there's a scene where she is showing them all, except for Raphael, who's upstairs getting beat up by the foot. The antique store downstairs that she owns. And she just says at one point, because remember, Splinter's missing. And Splinter had talked about his own mortality earlier in the movie.
Right.
And there's a part where Donatello, when they're waiting for the pizza, Donatello says to Michelangelo's like, what do you think about all that stuff that Splinter was saying? And Michelangelo's like, pizza guy's late. He's not even listening.
Yeah.
So it is part of the movie or whatever.
It almost seems like it's trying to foreshadow his death.
A little bit. Yeah. Even though he doesn't die. Spoiler alert. There's a part where she says to the turtles, I guess it's dumb to lose money on a business just because you miss your father. And
it's not dumb.
Well, Leonardo replies, no, it isn't. And it's just such a
kind of a
it's
wholesome
a poignant
moment.
Part of this film of it just hits what the themes are about this movie. I don't want to talk more about it when we get into the analysis of it, but
Leonardo loves Splinter.
Well, yeah, I mean
they all do.
They all do. Splinter's their dad, and April is still clearly mourning her parents at some point. And it wasn't until this time I watched the movie that I realized April's probably in her 30s. She's too young to have dead parents, is where I'm getting at.
Yeah.
Because she'd be probably a little bit older than me. I don't know how old the actress is. She's probably in her 30s, right?
Right.
And I feel like I'm 32, and I feel like I'm too young to have dead parents. My parents are alive and well.
Right.
You know what I mean? But they're still, they're in their 60s. So like, for her to have dead parents, something probably happened. You know? And she's holding on to the antique store because it's all she has left. And, it's probably harder for her to, I guess, like, properly mourn because, again, she's too young and they probably went too soon. I think it is so sweet that, like, Leonardo's like, no, there's nothing dumb about that. I saw a bunch of, like, criticisms of, like, why an antique store? Why is this even in this movie? But it's a symbol. You know what I mean? And people kind of like
a little bit more depth to April's character.
Yeah. But it fits within the themes of the film, which is about fatherhood.
Yeah.
Because she doesn't mention her mom. She mentions her dad. The antique store was her dad's.
I think the reboot also has like a April and her dad like connection thing going, but it's been a long time.
You might
since
be
I've
right,
seen that.
and I forgot because I haven't seen that movie in a long time. I only saw it once.
Same, actually.
Maybe I saw it twice, actually. I didn't hate it.
I didn't either. Yeah.
We'll get to that. But
eventually we'll get to those movies.
But since this movie is so much about fatherhood, it is, a through line through all the characters. And so this part where April... Oh, so I was saying, like, why an antique store? It's an actual symbol of, like, her attachment to the past and grasping onto the one thing she has left of her dad. And then in this moment, it all just burns down.
Yeah.
And I really think this is about... And a lot of this movie is about, like, losing your parents. And this is a moment where she had this last thing for her dad, and now it's gone. This symbolizes, like, her, like, actually losing her parents. Like, losing her dad for real. Even though the guy's dead. Right. But, like, now is when she's, like...
The last thing that you were holding on to is gone.
Exactly. It's like she went from denial to acceptance.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I think that's a very poignant kind of symbol here about what this movie's about.
Which is heartbreaking, but it's also probably healthier for her too.
Yeah.
In the long run.
Yeah, seriously. And then there's more jazz drumming, which I really like whenever they're fighting.
How'd you feel about this whole fight scene, like inside of the antique shop, like with the fire raging and stuff?
That was cool.
It was a pretty cool fight scene.
Yeah. The action in this movie is like
how
on
about
point.
the answering machine talking while they're in the middle of fighting? Basically telling April that she's fired.
Yeah. Right, because the answering machine is picking up the call, and it's like dangling. The fight's happening. Yeah. The only person left to hear it is Casey Jones.
Yeah.
Who doesn't know that girl? He doesn't know any of these people. You know what I mean?
He just hears this message.
Yeah. I think it's really well done. Again, this movie doesn't feel rushed because it tells the story so well. You know what I mean? Like, what do you need to know here? Okay, well, they figured out a way of making the fight less boring by putting this basically a voiceover, but it's not. It's an answering machine, right? Yeah.
It's moving the plot forward.
Exactly. While the fight's going on, while there's like three things happening simultaneously, and it's very digestible. Anybody can watch it and not get overwhelmed by how much like narrative input they're getting.
Yeah.
It's very well done. And it's fun. Shredder interrogates Splinter about the turtles. Splinter doesn't speak. He gives Tatsu a look of disappointment for not capturing the turtles. Tatsu in his rage beats up several of his own clan members. Danny looks on in horror and sneaks to see Splinter. Splinter offers Danny a friendly ear to listen to his burdens. Danny says his dad doesn't care for him, and Splinter disagrees. All fathers care for their sons, he says.
So there's another fatherhood heavy scene.
Again, the main themes in this movie is fatherhood and brotherhood. Right. And I really like this character of Danny because at face value, it doesn't seem like he belongs in this movie. He's an original character.
Right.
Like, shouldn't this movie be more about the turtles or whatever? Besides the fact that he serves several important plot points.
He does.
Besides that, he is, again, it's juxtaposing like the two very different scenarios. Here are these turtles who are all very close brothers. And the reason they can succeed is because they have each other. They're like this very tight-knit family. Whereas Danny's like this only child without a mom and a single dad. Yeah. And Charles tries his best and he loves him or whatever, but it still doesn't like fill this void for Danny, which is why he seeks out the foot.
Yeah, he like starts rebelling. He starts skipping school, seeking out the foot.
Yeah, exactly.
Being a little dick and stealing from April.
Yeah, exactly. But why? Because the foot is actually telling him, here's your sense of belonging. We are your family. The Shredder literally says that to Danny. I am your father. And he sees a better father in the Shredder than he does in Charles, even though Charles loves him and Danny doesn't, or the Shredder doesn't care about him. But I love that in this scene, all that falls apart because Tatsu just starts beating people up, like foot members. And other members have to like stop and be like, Master, please, like stop. Like you're hurting us.
Yeah. And Tatsu's not a very good ninja if he just losing his temper and attacking his fellow clan members.
Sure, he's a bad guy. And ninjas are bad guys. That's another thing, by the way. We're romanticizing ninjas the same way we romanticize pirates. And they're very popular among children.
Right.
For whatever reason.
They're assassins.
They're assassins. And pirates are like murderous thieves.
Yeah.
And we forget
pirates
that
still exist.
Yeah, and they still murder people.
Yes.
A lot. So, anyway. No, but like we were saying, like at this point, this all falls apart for Danny, who sees how Shredder and Tatsu actually treat who they call their family. And that's why he kind of seeks out, Splinter, and Splinter's like, he's doing Splinter. He's talking him out of it, April, Casey, and the Turtles escape to a farmhouse. Casey and April immediately don't get along. Casey tells her he heard the message that she's fired. She yells at him for his insensitivity. April narrates their time at the farm. Donatello and Casey become friends, fixing an old truck. Leonardo watches over Raphael, who remains in a coma, lying in a bathtub. This whole farmhouse stuff in the middle of the movie, what do you think about that? Because I know a lot of people don't like this.
I mean, it was, I think, much needed downtime in a movie that was kind of moving at like a breakneck pace.
Yeah.
But also, like, Age of Ultron has a very similar type of scene to this,
yeah.
where like the whole movie is just kind of action, and you have like this scene
incredibly similar. Now that you mention it, I never thought about that.
And then they, kind of take a breather at a farmhouse.
Yeah,
and people apparently hated that too.
It's very similar. It's the same thing, actually.
Did Joss Whedon?
I don't know.
Take some inspiration from this.
Apparently, this is borrowed from the comic. At one point, they do retreat to a farmhouse in an issue I have not read.
Oh, okay,
I read that somewhere. I like this part of the movie a lot because, again, this movie is short, but it doesn't feel rushed because they do certain things really well. This is a very slow-paced part of the film.
Right. And it kind of needs to be.
Exactly. And it really also kind of like shows a passage of time. Like, I don't know how long they were there for, but by like movie standards, what the movie tells me is that they were at least there for 2 weeks.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like
Raphael needed time to like recover. The Turtles needed to like kind of band together again.
Exactly.
So,
right.
Casey and April needed to form whatever bond they have.
Yeah. What do you think about Casey and April? Do you buy their romance?
I don't.
Really, I do. I do a lot. I think I buy
Casey's
his romance
just
more
being
than
a jerk. Like, I guess he's trying to be flirty, but the way he's doing it, he's just kind of being an asshole.
Yeah, but he's a lovable jerk.
Yeah, he's not like outright mean, and that's why I said like it seems like he's trying to flirt.
Yeah,
I just don't think it's good flirting.
No, I agree, but I buy into this because it has a very, and maybe this was they were basing it off, has a very Han Solo Princess Leia vibe to it.
I saw it as they were trying to do the Han Solo Princess
Really?
Leia thing. For me, it just didn't quite land. I
don't know. I buy it because the way they write both these characters, they seem compatible to me. Like they're both hot-headed.
They are.
And I get that Han Solo Princess Leia kind of vibe, right?
They also like, and maybe he's like this in the comic, but Casey just kind of seems dumb.
He's dumb. He's dumb and
like
he's sexist.
Actually dumb.
No, and he's sexist. There's a part of this movie where he's shuffling through sexist nicknames to April. He's like, "Hey, Toots," and she's like, "Don't call me that." And he's like, "All right, babe."
Princess? Yeah, I know Princess.
That's what you would like. And she's like, how about you don't call me stupid ass names, you dumbass?
I did like that scene.
I like that because it's okay to have a sexist character as long as he has his comeuppance, right? And he learns a lesson in this movie, and that's not how you talk to women. Because she's like, am I the first woman you've ever spoken to? Like, what's your deal?
And he's just like eating an apple like a cool guy.
Oh my god, I love that scene where he thinks he's cool. He sits back on the swing and it breaks.
Yeah.
It made me think, I'm like, was that an accident? There's no way it was an accident.
He looked like he was actually startled, though.
It looked like, right. It looked like it was a happy accident and it worked out.
Oh, shit.
Oh my god. Again, all this farmhouse stuff I really, really like. There's a scene also where Donatello and Casey are fixing a truck.
I do like that scene.
I like that a lot. And they're like throwing insults at each other, and you don't realize it later that they're playing the alphabet game.
But with insults.
With insults, yeah. Because at one point, he's like, what are we on? F. Okay. Like fart brain or whatever.
Yeah. No, they were like kind of bonding.
Yeah.
Yeah. And during the narration, like April even like mentions like what each of the turtles are kind of doing. She does say that like Donatello found someone to latch onto.
Yeah. What's Michelangelo doing there? I don't remember.
Michelangelo.
He's just being funny, I think, right?
Yeah, isn't he just kind of like using humor as like his coping mechanism?
Probably.
Yeah.
She also points out that like Leonardo spends all his time watching over Raphael
to the point where like he's even falling asleep, like sitting there watching him.
And meanwhile, she's doing color pencil drawings
of the turtles.
And first of all, they're really good. And they do this thing where it fades into the real footage, and all that stuff is really good. I really enjoy this kind of downtime because it gives you character moments.
Yeah.
And even if they're short, there's a moment where Casey Jones is making dinner for everybody, and he's chopping carrots with one of Leo's katanas. Does he not have a knife? I don't know. Maybe he doesn't. Maybe this is how they have to like kind of like get by.
Make do.
You know? And he's sitting here like chopping vegetables with a katana sword. And Michelangelo comes in. April offers him ointment, and he's like, nah. And he finds some turtle wax, and he's like, yeah, turtle wax. And it's like, obviously he's like joking, but he'll do anything for a gag. Yeah. You know?
And then Casey does like this weird massage to April.
Yeah, no,
he kind of like pushes her into the chair.
Yeah, that gets a little bit weird. I won't lie to you. That's where I'm like, maybe he is kind of like a weird abuser. But I buy that she's like into that. I buy that their like personalities like kind of mesh in a way where they would fall in love.
Maybe I just need to watch the movie again.
I don't know. Maybe that's the thing. Maybe I'm biased. I'm having a hard time like separating my bias for this film, a film that I've loved my whole life,
right?
To like what's good and bad about it.
Okay,
you know. Toots, babe, princess. There's also a part where they this happens a little bit later. They're bonding, they're getting along. He's talking about like his athletic career and how like he got injured, but they never say what sport he was playing, and I always assume it was hockey. I don't know why.
Because he has a hockey mask.
Because he wears a hockey mask, but he uses like baseball bats too.
It's weird.
And a cricket bat. Maybe it was cricket. Like, who knows, you know? Even though I don't think there's many cricket leagues in America. If any.
It's not a very popular sport over here.
According to Raphael, no one knows cricket. You need to know crumpets first to know cricket.
I like to think it's hockey, though.
I would like to think it's hockey, too. But again, it could have been baseball.
Hockey's also a very high injury sport.
He looks more like a hockey player.
It's the long hair.
It's the temperament, too.
The temperament, the long hair.
Yeah. Raphael finally wakes up and the turtles train together. Leonardo interrupts a game of Trivial Pursuit to tell his brothers in his meditation he communicated with Splinter. It's this downtime stuff that adds in... You know what it is? This is a very unrealistic premise. You know, it's these like mutated turtles. They're obviously wearing costumes. It's obviously men in these suits.
Right.
But by using very kind of like relatable things,
like mundane
just hanging out,
humanizes them.
Yeah, it does. Yeah. And you really kind of like impart your humanity onto them, you know.
And the fact that he was so excited when Raphael woke up.
Oh yeah, I love that part. Because like, they're brothers at the end of the day.
He's awake. And he wants food.
And he wants food. And I love that they're just fucking playing Trivial Pursuit again.
Just passing time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He takes him to the campfire where together they can speak to him. Splinter says he's proud of their power that was able to communicate with him, and that he loves them all. The next day, the four decide it's time to go back, just as Casey and April are starting to get along.
When they talk to Splinter here, Splinter also makes it seem like he's about to die.
Well, he's been doing that this whole movie also.
Right. And then like
he's probably on death's door, in fairness.
And you see like the turtles like start to like cry and stuff. Like this scene's also like a good one because you kind of do feel like the love between them here.
Yeah.
Like they're genuinely concerned about their father and they immediately want to go help him.
Yeah.
I guess they know where he's at now. Did he tell them?
No, I don't think so. I have no idea.
But either way, they're like, we need to go back.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I always as a kid thought, what is this? Because he kind of projects himself on the campfire.
Yeah.
And they are communicating, and that's like a superpowery thing. And this is one of those things where we talked about it last week when we were talking about like suspension of disbelief. In a movie, I strictly believe that if you want to introduce a new thing, you have to do it in the first act of the movie. If you do it in the second or third, suddenly you're like, this isn't a thing that we should know about. It's weird, exactly. And this is one where I'm like, should we have known that they could communicate with him astrally like this?
I just assumed it was like ninja magic.
Yeah,
like
but
ninjutsu.
There is no such thing as ninja magic. That's the thing. And
There's no such thing as Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Yeah, but it was a chemical. Right,
yeah.
Exactly. They explained that. It wasn't like Electro where they're like, oh, a bunch of vague powers.
And
Who
also,
cares?
suddenly we can astral project and speak to each other.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So if I had a complaint about this movie, maybe that part I'm like, I get it. Where, he's like, it took the four of you to sync up in order to, like, your chi had to sync up in order for us to be able to communicate through meditation.
Right.
I sort of get that, as long as maybe it was somehow established that that was a thing.
Doesn't he tell them to, like, focus on their meditation, like, earlier in the movie?
He does, but, like, people meditate. That doesn't mean that you can, like, get superpowers from it.
Yeah.
The gang make it back to their sewer hideout, but are being watched by Danny, who has been hiding there. Also, Shredder's, like, looking for Danny. He's like, where's that kid who bought blah, 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 the turtles? He went missing.
Yeah, where the hell did he go? Yeah, that's his new hideout.
He kind of, like, squats there. They agree to stay the night before launching an attack on the foot. Casey discovers he's claustrophobic and tries to sleep in the truck. Danny can't sleep, haunted by the part he played in capturing Splinter, and goes back to the foot hideout. Casey follows. Danny goes back to Splinter. He's told his story of his master Yoshi and his wife Tang Shin. They flee to America. Oroku Saki, who is in love with Shin, kills her and fights Yoshi, killing him as well. Splinter's cage is knocked over and he attacks Saki's face, biting and clawing. Saki slices Splinter's ear off with a katana and leaves Splinter to mourn his master. Danny asks what happened to Oroku Saki, and Splinter replies, "No one really knows, but you wear his symbol upon your brow."
So clearly he's the Shredder.
The Shredder, yeah. But this is news to even Splinter.
Yeah.
That is Oroku Saki. So this is a very similar to the comic with one edit. In the comic, the person who is in love with Hamato Yoshi's wife, Tang Shin, is Oroku Nagi, Oroku Saki's bigger brother.
Okay. Why'd they change that?
It's almost like an unnecessary
detail
wrinkle. Yeah. Because Oroku Nagi goes to kill Hamato Yoshi, who's Splinter's master, and his wife, and Yoshi kills him first.
Okay.
By doing so, he is like, he knows he's going to get kicked out of the foot and he's going to be dishonored.
Right.
So he flees to America. Oroku Saki is his younger brother who grows up in hatred for Hamato Yoshi and
becomes the Shredder.
Becomes the foot's like best ninja. So he is sent to New York to lead the New York clan of the foot.
Which is
where he becomes a Shredder.
Yeah.
And then he goes to kill, like years later, he goes to kill Yoshi.
Oh, Yoshi and then...
And his wife. Yeah. He kills them both. Splinter obviously survives.
Does he still cut Splinter's ear?
That wasn't in the comic. No, that's new. I guess it was just...
That's interesting that they added that to the movie.
That's also an interesting recall. But it gives him like a little bit of like... Because they both have scars.
Yeah.
Here's my scar, here's your scar. We recognize each other, you know?
Yeah. I feel like that's like an old samurai movie thing.
It might be. I love all this stuff. Again, this is pretty much taken straight from the comic, except for the Big Brother thing. Easy simplification, basically.
Yeah.
But I love that Danny like keeps on seeking Splinter out because he needs like guidance. He needs a father figure, right?
And Splinter becomes a father to Danny for a little bit too.
Yeah. So Casey's there also. He followed him there.
Yeah. Oh, I love the when is it Donatello that says Casey's claustrophobic, and then Casey gets upset, but he doesn't know what claustrophobic means.
Yeah. He assumes that he's calling him like a homo. I've never even looked at a guy before. No, man, you're afraid of small spaces.
You're claustrophobic. It's like, what?
That's a funny joke today, even though it's like a gay joke, because
it shows his ignorance.
Exactly. Yeah. He's an idiot for not knowing the difference. And he's all like, the joke is at his expense for
being homophobic.
Being slightly homophobic also. Exactly. Everyone's like, no, you dumbass.
Like, no, it means you're scared of enclosed spaces. And he's like,
no, I just want to sleep in the truck instead. Yeah. And he's in the truck and he's like, fuck, and he rolls down the window.
I love that he didn't know he was claustrophobic.
Yeah. He's probably been sleeping like in the park for years. Probably is homeless, actually. So Casey steals a foot outfit. Again, Casey's followed him there. He steals a foot outfit. As Danny drops his headband with Shredder's symbol on the floor, Shredder finds him. That part actually scared me. How about you? But I was like, oh, fuck. This is not good for him because in that moment where he rejects Shredder literally walks into the room and sees it.
Right.
Like, he could have just been like, all right, fuck you, and stabbed him. Like,
Shredder does nothing to him.
Yes. But had I not seen this movie before, I would have been like, oh, he's going to murder you right here. And just for that. So Casey and Danny try to save Splinter. Casey fights Tatsu. He gets beat up pretty easily, but finds a golf club amongst all the stolen goods. He hits Tatsu with it.
4.
Yeah. He says, I'll never call golf a dull game again. That's how you know he wasn't a golfer.
He was not a golfer.
Sam Rockwell tries to stand up to Casey, but no one joins in. Splinter and Casey make light that this isn't a family. They're a brainwashed cult.
Oh, yeah. Sam Rockwell is the one that goes, this is our family.
Yeah. I like that part a lot because it's what we were saying earlier, that Casey's like, you think this is a family? You think
that's your family?
And he points out like a passed out Tatsu who beat them all up earlier. He's like, this isn't family, dude. Like, get your shit together. I love the moment where Casey walks in and sees Splinter for the first time, and he's just like, yep, that's a huge rat chained to a fence. Okay, cool. Where are the keys? Let's get him out of here.
Everybody like takes it. All the good guys seem to take it really well that they're seeing like these giant animals, and they're just fine with it.
Yeah. Well, in fairness, like, he'd been living with the turtles for a while. He knew who Splinter was.
This is weird, but you know what? All right.
But he's seeing Splinter for the first time. And he's like, that's a giant rat. Cool.
I don't know what I expected.
Yeah. So the turtles fight the foot as a foursome and are better prepared. The fight leads up to a rooftop where they fight until the Shredder shows up. They don't know who he is and take turns fighting him one-on-one. Mikey exclaims, at exactly what point did we lose control there? Because they're all quipping, they're having fun fighting the foot, and then the Shredder shows up. They're quipping still, but then like a few minutes later, like, okay, we're not winning this fight
and they're
anymore.
all huddled up talking to each other. Shredder's just standing there in the background, like waiting.
Yeah.
Also, they attack him one by one.
Okay, so this is something that has always kind of bothered me, and this last time watching, I'm like, it makes more sense having read the comic book now, because this is a fight for honor, and it would be dishonorable for them to gang up on him.
Okay.
So they fight one-on-one.
So they want it to be like a duel.
It's a one-on-one fight, exactly. Okay. And in the comic, they fight one-on-one also.
Like, that's just what they do.
Exactly. And I think Raphael that gets the better of him and like stabs him. Comic is dark. So I think that's what they were kind of trained to do, is just, fight one-on-one.
Right.
But they continue to fight until Shredder puts a blade to Leo's throat. He claims Splinter is dead just as Splinter arrives, and explains who he is and who the Shredder is to the Turtles. So this is the part where, like I said, they had left this out until now. Now he's like, this is Oroku Saki. He's the one that killed my master. There he is. Shredder recognizes the rat that scarred his face and removes his mask. He charges in anger. Splinter uses a nunchuck and spins Shredder off the ledge. This was also really good.
This was ridiculous.
He didn't see. Because he's charging in pure anger at this point. And which is probably the reason he had been winning the fight up until now, because he was calm and collected.
And then Splinter just basically parries him.
Exactly. Yeah. He pulls a nunchuck, twirls it around, so now he's holding him by the same blade that Shredder has, but now he's holding him off the ledge of a building. Shredder tries to throw a dagger at Splinter. Splinter catches it and drops Shredder just as he was saying, death comes for us all, but when you die, it will be without honor.
Okay, this part's kind of fucked up.
Shredder falls into a garbage truck, which Casey then activates.
Did they just smash him?
Yeah. I mean, I love this scene for so many reasons. For one, there seems to be a running gag in this that nobody takes Splinter's lecture seriously. They just constantly interrupt him.
Right.
Because at this point, Splinter is lecturing Shredder.
And Shredder just tries to kill him.
And Shredder, yeah. and like right as he's talking, he interrupts him by trying to throw a dagger at him.
And so by catching it, he drops him.
And he drops him. After he's down, he's like, and he finishes his sentence. He's like, without honor. So I love this for a couple reasons. Casey's the one that has no qualms with murdering this guy. So he's like, sweet.
Activates the compactor in the truck.
And just like squashes him or whatever.
Jesus Christ.
But in the comic, because this is all mostly based on the first issue of the comic, the fight ends on a rooftop just like this. And it's the four turtles up against Shredder. But the difference is, in that comic, earlier in the issue, Splinter explains who Shredder is. And he basically says, I've been training you for this moment your whole lives, for you to go kill the Shredder. Like, this is what your life's purpose is.
Right.
So go kill the Shredder for me. And the turtles go, and they go to kill the Shredder. But it's all about honor. So they
want to beat him fair.
Right. They do fight him one-on-one. Raphael ends up stabbing him. And when he's down, they give him a chance to kill himself in seppuku. To which Shredder like says no, pulls out a grenade, and then they like kill him, or they knock him off the building, and then the grenade goes off or something like that.
Right.
So this being
this is all kind of first issue?
That was the first issue. You should read it. It's good. It's very dark. Again, they're like, here, commit suicide.
Well, this was the first issue written as like a parody of Daredevil, right?
Yeah. It's also very much inspired by like Frank Miller's work.
Yeah.
It's supposed to be dark.
Okay.
There's very little gags in it. It's not like the funny Ninja Turtles.
Not Cowabunga or anything like that.
That's all from the TV show.
Yep.
But at this point, when they're making a movie, they're trying to like marry the two. And I think it's a very good balance of both.
I think it did a good job.
Yeah, of both like this darker comic and like this very lighthearted TV series. And here they want to do the scene from the end of the comic, but also kind of like make it less dark and shit.
Is that less?
Yes, because they're fighting Shredder not because of a grudge. They're not out to murder Shredder like they are in the comic.
They just want to stop him.
They want to get Splinter back.
Right.
That's what they're fighting for. They're still honorable. They fight him one at a time. They take turns. And then at the point when Shredder has Leonardo's throat up against his blade,
they all drop their weapons.
They drop their weapons, just as like Shredder said to. And Shredder's the one who goes, you guys are fools. You could have beat me if you had all attacked together.
Now you're going to die.
You would have just sacrificed one. It would have been, you would have lost one, but three of you would have survived, is what he says. Something like that.
He's like, now you'll share his fate, and then he tries to kill him.
And you all die. Exactly. But then Splinter shows up. So the movie's already showing he's the one with the dishonorable one.
Yeah.
Because my thing is, like, in that comic book, it's kind of like, who's telling the story? It's almost like a he said, she said. They're both like, you're the dishonorable one, I'm the honorable one, but they're all assassins. So who do you believe? You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Whereas in this, it's very clear cut. And they kill him because he's the one who attacked. Splinter gets to, like, quote unquote, kill him without trying to kill him. It's a very clever way of kind of getting out of that predicament. And then Casey's the one who's like, fuck it, murder this guy. So I think all this is well done, is what I'm saying.
It's just crazy that in like a kid's movie, they're going to use a trash compactor to literally kill someone.
Yeah, there's a lot of problematic things in this movie. If it's truly intended for children, there's some problems here. So Danny returns April her $20 bill. His dad finds him. Danny tells him he goes by Dan now. You know what? It's a small thing, but again,
Dan. And then he's like, "Oh, son."
Yeah, but it is a nice kind of like, how do you tell a whole thing in just one line? You know, he's like, "Oh no, don't call me Danny. I want to go by Dan." Just because he's going through a change. Dad doesn't get it all in one line.
Yeah, he had the whole city looking for him.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Charles gives April her job back with a raise. Sam Rockwell tells the chief where to find the warehouse. Casey and April kiss. The team try one last time to come up with a catchy one-liner, and Splinter suggests cowabunga.
And then he says, I made a funny.
Cue MC Hammer.
I love how when April and Casey kissed, all four turtles were just like, yeah, go Casey.
They were
like cheering on their bro.
I feel like they were cheering on like the two of them getting together this whole time. Like they knew.
Right.
I love that Mikey and Donzello specifically are like workshopping puns the entire movie. And then Splinter's like, what about cowabunga?
And then they're like, yeah, cowabunga.
Oh my God.
Which is obviously a throwback to the cartoon.
Yeah. That's from the cartoon. Yeah, so that's the movie. What do you think? How do you like it? I don't got to read on you right here.
I liked it.
You liked it?
It's enjoyable. I mean, I'm not going to say it's my favorite movie, but I also don't have that same connection to it that you do. But it is a good movie. I think it did a good job balancing, whatever darker stuff they were getting from the comic book.
Yeah.
And then some of the lighter stuff that they got from the cartoon.
Mm-hmm.
And like kind of bringing it together. This was probably the best case scenario.
Absolutely, yeah.
This could have been a train wreck.
Yeah. Yeah, I think so. It is this perfect marriage, I think, of the two vastly different source material, right? It's this 80s cartoon show, which is very kind of kid-friendly, very lighthearted, and like the very kind of dark comic book.
They don't even really use their weapons that much in the cartoon.
Well, they fight a lot of robots. In the cartoon, the foot soldiers are robots. That way,
that's their way of getting around violence.
That's how they can use their very sharp weapons.
Because you can't use them on people.
You'll kill them. Well, which is why,
you can't use them on people in a cartoon in the 80s.
Exactly. No, I think this is a great movie. Like, the more I watch it, the more in love with it I am. I want to break this down. We're in the analysis now. I want to break this down kind of chunk by chunk. First of all, the puppets, the costumes, Jim Henson's Creature Shop.
They're good.
It's amazing. It's amazing.
I will say, when it comes to like the emotions and stuff, the faces do look a little weird sometimes, but also it's a puppet, so there's not really that much that you can expect from that.
So many things here. Number one, this is not a big budget movie. This was a very low budget movie.
I think this was an independent film.
It was an independent film. This was made on $13 million. Even back then was not a lot of money. Obviously, Jim Henson is the way to go. Like, the best in the business. It's incredible. First of all, the stunt work in this movie is incredible on its own. Much more so that they're in these suits with giant backpacks on, basically.
Yeah.
The fact that any of these stunts work is awesome. But the suits, I mean, they look amazing. Like the way how expressive they are, the fact that they're so mobile, the fact that you don't, like, if you look for it, you can see the seams. Like, you can see where, I mean, and they're so well built because most of, where the costumes come together are hidden by the shell, by their elbow pads and knee pads. You can kind of see where like the heads fit onto the shoulders a little bit. You can see like where they would put their masks off,
Yeah.
And if you look closely, by the way, you can see the actors' mouths inside of the characters' mouths.
I didn't notice that.
You have to look for it.
The mouths on the costumes do open like really wide, though.
Yeah, and if you look, you can see like the actor inside. Apparently, I've noticed it in a couple shots, but it's not a big deal.
How do they operate that?
Glad you asked. This is another kind of thing about this. Each character is essentially brought to life by 4 different people. There was an actor in the suit, like a stand-in actor. There's a stunt man for all the action scenes in suit. There's a puppeteer who's working basically the facial expressions with like a remote control.
Okay, so it was like a remote control puppet.
Right. Yeah. Okay. And then there's the voice actor on top of that. So all 4 characters would have 4 people, except for Raphael, because the voice actor wanted to be the guy in the suit. So for Raphael, that guy was in the suit and then did the voice work also.
Who was Raphael?
His name is...
Kind of one of the turtles is voiced by Corey Feldman.
Donatello is voiced by Corey Feldman.
From the Goonies.
Correct.
Corey Feldman was
Josh
Donatello.
Pies.
Yeah,
so he
wanted to be in the suit?
Yeah, he's both in the suit and he's the voice.
Huh. He wanted to be in it?
Yeah. Which is
in the movie.
I mean, there's no reason not to.
Yeah.
But I guess he's like...
This is more work for you.
Save more money for the...
Yeah.
So yeah, the Splinter suit is incredible.
Is there somebody in that suit? Or is that actually a puppet?
No, I think there's someone in there.
Okay.
There's also a scene where he like lights a match. Yeah, and I'm like, okay, that's pretty bold. Because all that shit's flammable.
Yeah.
And you're just kind of really like showing off how good you got this.
It's a little scary, actually.
The part where they're like slicing pizza and they're eating, like there's just so many things that you'd think this is something that I would avoid doing in a costume like this, and they're doing it. you know.
Yeah.
Plus, that's not even mentioning all of the stunt work, right?
Oh, yeah. All the fighting that they did in it.
Oh my god. There's something about how like their faces look. It's something like the inverse of Uncanny Valley where you want to buy into it. And I think that's why you go with Jim Henson, because like
He's good at that.
Exactly. Because of all the creatures that, they've come up with, in movies and Star Wars and in the TV shows, like in Muppets and Sesame Street and all this shit. But like it's a smirk that they have that is like somehow relatable, and what I think it is that they all look like Kermit the Frog.
Okay.
I don't know if you get that. There's a way
bit.
in the way their mouths are shaped is very Kermit, and I know Kermit is a hand puppet, but the actor who's been doing Kermit for God knows how long, the way he, and that's credit to him, the way he works that puppet is so kind of believable.
It has like lifelike movement.
Yeah. He has certain like facial expressions that he does with Kermit, and I feel like they use that as a basis when they created these puppets, because there's sometimes when they kind of smirk and you're like, you kind of project your emotion onto the puppet. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's just so well designed. The fact that these are humanoid turtles,
but you still buy into them being on screen with these live action actors.
Yeah, and you buy into them being real somehow. I don't know if it's because you watch the cartoon, they look enough like the cartoon, but they also look like, I don't know, they look like they could be real, even though it's absolutely ridiculous.
Yep. I know what you mean.
Because you compare that to like the 2014 CGI one, which is like kind of, that's way in the Uncanny Valley where you're like, this is CGI.
They also,
like,
their faces
CGI.
were also kind of creepy looking.
They're actually, and we'll get into those, but those are based off of a particular artist in the comic book that made them more kind of rounded and less kind of big on the bottom and smaller on top or whatever.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
But it's quite the testament of like how well these puppets are designed that you just see them and you're just instantly like, yep, those are the Ninja Turtles. What more is there to, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
The action is incredible. And I want to carry that into the cinematography too of this movie. There is only one time I think where they kind of resort to doing a quick cut. And that is when Raphael does a flip over Casey Jones. And they do like a slow-mo to kind of fill the space. You know what I'm talking about? They're like, oh.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot going on.
Well,
and
physically, that's also very difficult to do.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right. But other than that, I feel like all the action is in camera.
Yeah, you actually see like blows like connecting.
Yeah.
They're not really connecting usually, but it's like WWE.
Right. I love the cinematography in general. I think is well done. There's so much being told through visuals, and we talked about that earlier on. But a lot of people complain that this movie's too dark. Like literally, it's dark.
It is literally dark. I mean, this is clearly on a soundstage.
Most of us filmed it on a stage in North Carolina. Yeah.
Like all the scenes in New York, it had that very that same kind of feeling from like the Batman movie where like you see like, you know, the City Hall of Gotham. You're like, this is a soundstage. That's not a real city. I did kind of get that vibe a little bit.
I think this is
way
looks better than that.
It looks better, but I got that same feeling. I'm like,
because they filmed a little bit on location, but for the most part they filmed.
Yeah.
In
I feel like most of the
North
dark
Carolina.
city stuff, I was like, this is like a soundstage.
I felt like it was at a real place.
Really?
Maybe not literally New York City, but like, I don't know, the parts of Raphael's in a park. I'm like, that's a park. That's not a stage.
Right. No, I
or on the sidewalk.
I'm thinking more
or...
of like the best example I guess would be like the kind of like the last scene of the movie where like after the rooftop fight and they're all just standing in the street talking.
Okay, maybe.
I'm like, that's a stage.
But it's not like...
It's a very well
because Batman
put together...
89, the whole thing takes place on one block and you can tell.
Yeah.
That's my problem with that movie.
This one has different locations, yeah.
Yeah. But I do appreciate how it's filmed. I like how it seems like they're kind of like embracing a kind of a noir style where half the shot composition is always in black, in shadow.
Well, isn't the comic in black and white?
Well, yes. But also like these are the Ninja Turtles. They operate in the shadows. Yeah. And so instead of filming a lot of it in the daytime, they're filming a lot in the nighttime. This is a movie where back in the day, I used to only have to, when I watched it as a kid, I would make sure to watch it in a dark room because you
could see.
You can't see if you're not watching in a dark room.
Especially on those older TVs.
Exactly. Nowadays, you can if you have a good TV.
And you don't have like glare coming off your TV.
Yeah. So like on my TV, I have an OLED. So like the blacks are perfectly black all the time. That's the best case scenario to watch this movie on.
Yeah.
But if you watch it on basically any other TV, yeah, it might be a little bit difficult.
Like, it's fine.
You don't make movies so that they can be watched on TV. You know what I mean?
Right.
And you make movies so that it looks good one time. And if you can't replicate that, that's your own fault, basically.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Nolan.
Yeah, well. What do you got on, like
the cinematography
analysis
and stuff?
Yeah, like...
We can move on to the themes, because I'm not a huge, like... I don't have an eye for, like, cinematography, really.
Okay.
But the themes I could definitely talk about. Like,
yeah.
Fatherhood.
Yeah.
Like, they definitely hit you over the head with it in this movie, I feel like.
I mean, for being such a short... It's an hour and a half. I feel like it's almost hard to hit you over the head on something in an hour and a half. But, yeah, go ahead.
Well, all right. So we have Splinter being the father figure for the Turtles, obviously. But I believe they mentioned that Splinter's their father multiple times in the movie. Like, you have April with her, I assume, dead father.
Yeah. No, she says basically.
She says he's dead,
yeah.
right? Where, like, obviously there's some tragedy and she's, like, still kind of holding on to it.
Yeah.
And then, like, Leo relates to that in a way. You have Danny and his father.
Yeah.
Who are having issues.
Right.
Which they do reconcile in the end. And then you have Shredder, who claims to be the father of the entire Foot Clan. There's a lot, and we talked about it while we were talking about the plot, there's a lot of just fatherhood stuff going on in this movie. And it is directly mentioned a lot.
Yeah.
But that being said, I do think the themes are explored very well. You know, because the Turtles, they don't outright say that they love Splinter, but you see it in their actions and their reactions to, like, what's going on. You know, like, they're heartbroken when he goes missing. They're heartbroken when he talks to them, and it kind of seems like it's his last message to them.
Yeah.
You actually see Mikey start crying. Mikey, the funny one.
Yeah.
So that's explored really well. And then you've got April with the antique shop. She actually has some dialogue about it, and that's also explored well. Danny and his dad, that's kind of the plot. In a weird way, that's kind of the plot of the movie, because Danny's moving the plot forward constantly.
Yeah,
and
he
a
is
lot
the
of
character that moves the plot.
And then Splinter, obviously, who's a terrible father.
What?
Not Splinter. Shredder.
Oh, okay.
Shredder,
Yeah.
who's a terrible father.
I've made that mistake
My
before.
bad.
Yeah.
No, Shredder is a terrible
He's
father.
the best dad in this movie.
But yeah, like, the fatherhood themes are definitely there. Family. The Turtles kind of bring April and Casey into their family. Mm-hmm. More so April than Casey, I think. Casey does get that brotherhood bond with a few of the Turtles as well.
A little bit. Yeah. And maybe...
Mostly Donnie.
He's kind of a one-dimensional character, Casey.
Right.
It's not clear what his bit is in this, but
no,
it
he
is
has
nice
moments.
No, absolutely. And it is nice to think that maybe the Turtles are filling in something for him, too.
Yeah, because it doesn't seem like he has a family.
Exactly. Like, he's finding family in these moments as well, yeah.
And then, obviously, the Foot Clan is this dysfunctional family that's...
Yeah. So, what's your point? Do you think it's too much?
It's explored well, but it is... There's a lot of it, I guess, is what I would say. So, yeah, maybe a little bit too much. But that could also be because the movie's so short that it just feels like there's a lot. Because, hour and a half, that's TV movie length. These Captain America movies were like an hour and a half.
No, sure. That's kind of my point. I feel like it's hard to feel like you've been beat over the head because the movie's short, you know?
I think it being short is why I felt beat over the head.
Okay.
I'm not saying it's a bad thing, though. I don't know what my rant is. It's not
okay.
even a rant.
No, sure.
I'm just kind of going on.
I think the fatherhood stuff and the brotherhood stuff, that's clearly the themes in the movie.
Right.
And I think it's very well done because you can watch this movie and be like, hey, like, it's the Ninja Turtles. And you can never think about that. I think it's when kids watch this, they don't give a shit.
They don't give a shit about family.
Exactly. But I think these themes are important because what I wanted to carry this into is who's the target audience for this movie. And I don't think it's kids, and I don't think it's adults. If I could be specific, I think it's teenagers. I think this is the only Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle property that is specifically aimed at teenagers.
Because the comic's aimed at adults.
Exactly. And you would think, at face value, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, who is this for? You would think teenagers, right?
Yeah.
But
most of their...
it's for kids.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Cartoons all for kids.
Right.
Video games, kids.
Yeah.
Most of the movies, kids. Yeah.
Except for this one, maybe. But specific, because a lot of times when you see things, properties that are teenage based, they're not really for teenagers. Who they are for like middle school age kids, because kids always want to, their kind of escapism is older kids. They look forward to being older, right?
Yeah, and so, that's a huge mistake.
Yeah, first of all, stay young forever. But think about like some of these kid shows. Think of like iCarly. Was iCarly for the age range that the character of Carly was? No. It was for younger.
Yeah.
Think about Victorious. Was that for high school age kids? No. It was for
maybe.
Maybe, but I feel like it's more for middle school age kids.
Okay.
I feel like every time you have a kids show whose characters are a certain age, it's tailored for the age group slightly below them.
Yeah, I definitely see that.
Hey, come in. I have a question for you. We were just talking about this. Do you think that kids shows with characters in them of a certain age are made for that age, or are they made for a younger age?
Oh. The examples we gave.
So, for example, the example I gave was iCarly. Is that show for kids the age of the character of Carly, or is it made for an age younger?
Can you say it into the mic, please?
Yes.
That's close enough.
I think those shows are made for those ages and younger. And all ages, really, because I like iCarly.
Okay, I know, but what's the target age? Because I think what I'm saying is like kids, their form of escapism is to be older. So like think of like the show Victorious. They're all like seniors in high school. They're all like 17 years old.
They are?
Or like 16 or something.
Oh.
I don't know what age they are.
Yeah, same. But is that show targeted for 16-year-olds or is it targeted for 13-year-olds?
It's probably targeted for a younger audience.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Even though they slip some edgy stuff in there.
Yeah, that show's actually for adults. Wait, did Berto agree with you or disagree?
Well, we just started talking about
it. It was more of a conversation. It wasn't really a agree-disagree thing. But it can be. I agree.
Okay.
So my point is, like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, by the characters being teenaged, I don't think the target audience needs to be teenagers. I think they're younger kids.
It's for sure
because
younger
kids want to pretend to be teenagers. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
For a kid, a teenager's like the ultimate.
That's true.
Like they don't want to be adults. Adults aren't cool anymore. Teenagers, that's peak coolness.
Teenagers are cool.
They're so cool.
They're not cool.
Yeah, secretly, they're not that cool.
They're not that cool.
They're just as lame. So my point is, I think this is the only iteration of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles that is specifically for teenagers because the target audience is Danny. Danny is like the key demographic here. It's these kids that are like going through their first like emo existential crisis, right? Yeah. They don't know whether to rebel. And I love the part where Casey Jones like he sees Raphael and he's like, "Are you a punker?" I hate punkers because that's when like punk became a thing.
It's weird that Casey would hate punkers. Yeah, Casey's kind of a punk.
Are they actually called punkers?
I mean, maybe,
back in the 80s,
maybe in the 80s.
Like real punkers, like with huge mohawks and
like me.
No, not like you with your huge poser. Mohawk.
No, I was such a poser.
Get out of here, poser.
All right.
No, but I'm saying I think this is for teenagers because this is like kind of what they're going through. Like they don't quite understand like who's my family? Should I be doing crimes?
It's more relatable to them.
It's about family, but it's not watered down for like, hey, kids.
Right.
Here's what family's about. No, it's about, hey, youths, like adolescents.
It's like, hey, your parents probably do love you.
Yeah. And here is the benefit of being a part of a family.
A real family.
A real family. And like being part of a brotherhood. You know, not like a weird brotherhood. Like
not like a cult.
Not like a cult. Yeah. Like your actual brothers.
Yeah.
That's why I said earlier I love this juxtaposition of having the Ninja Turtles against Danny, who is like this only child with no mom, and he's clearly missing something in his life, and he turns to a cult, a crime organization that says that
it's a bit of an extreme term, but it's there's similar stories of kids that join gangs and stuff. So
that's exactly what it is.
Yeah.
I know a kid who joined a gang and now he's a murderer. So there's a thing.
Cool.
Anyway, it's
not cool.
No, that's what I'm saying. But Splinter's here, raise these four brothers who feed off each other in a real brotherhood, like a real family. And I think this is This is the kind of story that kids of that age need to be told. Here's the importance of family, and fatherhood and brotherhood.
All right.
You know what I mean? Because then the next ones are made for fucking kids, and then after that they're made for kids, and they're
the next ones
toned
are
down and
much more on the silly side.
Yeah, they don't have these. You don't have these these themes. But overall, this film, I love it. I love this movie. It is so earnest, and if I had a major complaint about it, is that it's too short. I would want a lot more. I think there's a lot more to explore here. I think they did a great job of making a movie that's an hour and a half. It doesn't feel rushed. It's paced very well, but there's more here.
Yeah. For the length of this movie, they do cover a lot.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
And they do it in very creative ways. But there's more story to be told here, I feel. Like, I could have spent a lot more time with the Turtles. I would have liked more of this, brotherhood stuff. In the next few movies, I don't think we get that banter between, Leonardo, Raphael, Michelangelo making good jokes. Like, his impressions.
Right.
There's so much good physical humor that the actors are doing. It's very good puppeteering that I'm very curious to see if we see it in the next few movies, because I don't remember them very well.
From what I remember, the suits don't look as good.
So in the third movie, they use a different company. That's the problem.
Okay.
Yeah, they abandoned Jim Henson.
Well, he's not alive anymore, so...
Oh, his company or whatever.
How did this film do, critically...
So...
And at the box office and all that, all the stuff we care way too much about when it comes to movies.
Actually, I'm glad you brought that up because I forgot. So it's an independent movie. Basically, a small studio gets financed. They go make a movie, and then they go take it to a film festival.
Okay.
At the film festival, they show it to a bunch of people, and then they get bids to distribute it. That's how independent movies work. And actually, most movies are independent movies. It's just not most movies that we watch.
Okay.
Most movies out there are independent movies, because there's a lot of independent movies that we just don't go see.
And they just they get picked up by somebody that...
By a distributor.
Okay.
And so back in the day, it was the major 6 distributors were Sony, Disney, Warner Brothers, Universal.
MGM?
Yes, MGM, but they're not one of the major ones.
Okay.
It was 6. What am I missing? Paramount.
Oh, Paramount's huge.
And Fox, thank you.
20th Century Fox?
20th Century Fox, yeah. Those are the 6. They've whittled down a little bit because Disney bought Fox.
Yeah.
But, and then Sony makes a lot less movies than they used to.
They do a lot of Spider-Man stuff.
It's basically all they got. So this was turned down by all of the major distributors. Only bid that they got was from New Line Cinema. And New Line Cinema at the time was only making low-budget B movies and horror movies, like Critters. And this is the best decision New Line Cinema can make, because this was a box office explosion.
So this was one of their biggest movies.
This made over $200 million. So
that's a lot back then.
In 1990, that's Marvel money, baby. Especially on a $13 million budget. So it got New Line Cinema on the map.
Oh, and New Line Cinema brought us classics like Mortal Kombat.
Oh, did they really?
Yeah.
So their 2 biggest successes is this movie and Lord of the Rings.
They did Lord of the Rings?
They did Lord of the Rings, yeah, New Line Cinema.
Holy shit. But yeah, I didn't know that about New Line.
Yeah. So it's just interesting how that worked out, because, and I guess the other thing is, one of my favorite things about this movie is that here's a situation where the studio's not overly involved. Fuck yeah, let's make this, whatever. And they're letting creatives be creatives, right? Because big problems with the next movies is you can't use your weapons. You can't decapitate anybody.
Yeah.
Ugh.
Can't smash people in a garbage truck.
Yeah. And I think you get the best movie when you just kind of don't put as many limitations on them.
Obviously put some
Filmmakers.
Limitations.
Well, and that's what I was saying, is that
yeah.
this movie is very problematic if it was actually intended for children, which I don't believe it is.
Right.
But because, they, first of all, not only do they have very dangerous weapons, you've got kids here smoking and joining gangs, basically, even though the moral of this movie is that this is bad.
But if that's
and
the
it's not a
case,
real family.
A lot of Spielberg movies of this era would also be problematic then too, like Goonies.
Okay, yeah, sure. But also, there's a character in this movie who's a vigilante, and he uses equipment that all children have access to. Baseball bats, hockey,
and he beats
sticks.
people with them.
And
yeah.
yeah, right. So, In the next movie, they have their weapons, but they never use them because of this.
They're just there to be like their signature weapons.
Yeah. They're also not stabbing like anybody, but they are using their weapons in this movie. Like, there's a shot where Leonardo is fighting a foot soldier, and he has 2 katanas. They're very deadly weapons. You can't use them without cutting someone open.
Right.
And he's using them in a very specific way so that he's not mortally, like, wounding
them.
This person. He's just kind of, like, knocking them over. Like, he's using the side of them or something.
He's hitting with the side of the blade, yeah.
Yeah. Because he's smart, and he's trained to do this.
He's trained. Just if you actually know how to use the weapon, you also know how to not kill someone with it.
Right, exactly.
Because, yeah, nunchucks are also very dangerous. Mostly to yourself if you don't know how to use them.
Nunchucks are actually illegal in a bunch of countries because of Bruce Lee movies, because he used them a lot.
Right.
He's always using nunchucks. And so after that, a bunch of countries, like, banned them. Because they thought...
They are deadly weapons.
Well, they're not... I mean, they're obviously not as deadly as, like, swords. But...
You hit somebody in the side of the head with it.
No, sure. No, sure. There's something to be said there. Okay. Cool. Let's move on to Keep or Cancel. Short one, because all I got is Sam Rockwell. Corey Feldman, I don't... First of all, I know very little about Corey Feldman.
All I know is that he's very outspoken about like child abuse in Hollywood.
Yes. But he also has several abuse allegations against him.
Which is interesting.
So it's almost... It's in the territory where I'm like,
It's almost too real.
Yeah. It's one of those where there's a saying I don't know, but it's basically like it's almost like a who smelt the Delta thing. You know what I mean? That's not the right. You know what I'm saying? It's because he's so outspoken about, like, you know, he says he was raped when he was a kid, and he accused fucking Charlie Sheen of raping someone back when they were in a movie together in the early 80s. They were like young.
Right.
But then he has several allegations later on about himself. It's like, I almost don't want to...
At that point, it's like, what the hell do you believe?
I don't want to touch any of that, is my point.
It's messy.
Plus, I don't really know him very well. Sam Rockwell, however, I think that's someone we should talk about.
I think he's cool.
I forgot that he was in The Green Mile.
Who was he in
He's the shitty one. First of all, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles is one of his first roles.
Oh, shit.
Which makes sense because he looks like he's 18.
Yeah, he looks like a kid.
In The Green Mile...
William Wild Bill Wharton.
Yeah. He's the other inmate. The one that's, like, crazy and has, like, is he the one with the rats? No, that's a different guy.
That's a different guy, yeah.
He's like the really bad one.
I never saw the movie. I only read the book.
You've never seen Green Mile, the movie?
I've only read it.
Oh, fuck.
It's a very good
really
book.
Movie. He's the one that, like, is actually evil. And then they kill him at some point in the movie, I think.
Does he get executed or does he get killed? Okay. He was in, obviously, Iron Man 2.
Yes.
Yeah, and he's
Assassination
one of the better parts of that movie, honestly.
Oh, absolutely.
Justin Hammer, he's fantastic as Justin Hammer.
Assassination of Jesse James by the coward Robert Ford. It's a good movie. Cowboys and Aliens, that's on our list. We're going to come back to that. Obviously, Iron Man 2, like you said.
Jojo Rabbit.
Vice, he played George Bush.
Oh.
That's the one with...
Oh, shit.
Yeah, that's the one with...
That's the movie about Dick Cheney.
Yes.
Yeah.
With
Christian Bale.
Christian Bale, thank you.
Christian Bale's Dick Cheney and fucking Sam Rockwell's George Bush.
Well, because they're all in, like, heavy prosthetics too.
Yeah.
I want to watch that movie.
I forgot that existed.
Me too. But in Jojo Rabbit. You see Jojo Rabbit?
I didn't see it.
You haven't seen it?
No.
So good. Oh my god,
I want to see it.
Fuck, you should watch it. It's really good. Damn it. I was going to have this whole thing about Heil Hitler with you.
Man.
There's a scene in that movie where, first of all, Sam Rockwell's character is great in that movie.
Is he one of the Nazis?
He's a Nazi.
Okay.
But he's also a closeted gay Nazi. And then he kind of
that's not accepted.
Exactly. And he has a slight redemption arc towards in the movie. I mean, spoilers, but whatever. There's a scene in that movie where he walks into a room and then they're being we're the SS, the secret police.
Yeah.
Specifically
The
Gestapo, thank you. They're all hailing Hitler because that's how they would have to greet each other.
Right.
And they're like, Heil Hitler, Heil Hitler. Every person goes down the line, they're like, Heil Hitler, Heil Hitler, Heil Hitler, Heil Hitler. And then someone else comes in the room and they're like, Heil Hitler, Heil Hitler, Heil Hitler, Heil Hitler.
Like they have to repeatedly do it?
And the more it's such a good movie. It's Taika Waititi. The more the movie does it, the more they're like making fun of this ridiculous concept of like how they had to like
It is ridiculous.
hail their leader every single time.
Every time they greet someone.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Good movie though.
I gotta check it out.
So back on what you were saying, Iron Man 2. I feel like Sam Rockwell, the reason he's a great actor is because he's a slimy looking dude.
He is.
And he's typecasted a lot of times as the slimy looking, just kind of greasy guy, right?
Backstabbing, asshole.
And that works really well in this movie because he's like the lead greasy looking
he literally looks greasy
member.
in this movie.
Yes.
I think he looks cool.
He's greasy in a lot of pictures or in a lot of movies. Green Mile, like we said. But in
Iron Man 2,
he is like this executive, so he's very clean cut. But there's still a level of
personality is very greasy.
Yes, but there's still that's why he's perfectly casted because there's still a level of greasiness that he just brings on even when he's clean cut, which makes Justin Hammer such an interesting character.
And he just steals the scene when he's in it.
Absolutely. That's my point. Is like he's trying to be a Tony Stark, but he can't because he's so fucking greasy and bad, right? But had you casted anyone else in that role, it might have been charming. Like if you had put like Brad Pitt's charming and handsome, and you put him in that role, and you might like him.
You're not supposed to like
But you're not supposed to, exactly.
Right.
So you cast a man like Sam Rockwell, who can play this part, but also he's just still greasy. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like you don't fully buy into it. You don't trust him.
And he almost has a level of like patheticness.
Yeah.
At least in the Justin Hammer role.
Right. Good actor is all I'm saying.
He's a good actor.
Have you seen Moon?
Yes, back when it came out, though,
I
so
thought,
it's been a while.
Were you here when I made Sable and Summer watch it and they hated it?
No.
It's a good movie, though.
That movie's not for everybody, though.
I guess. I thought it was when I was like, hey, we should watch this movie. I had been pushing this movie for years on these people, and finally one day I was like, this is it. It's happening.
It was directed by Duncan Jones?
Yep, Duncan Jones. I think it was like his breakout hit.
Yeah, and then he directed Warcraft, which I enjoyed a lot, but a lot of people didn't.
Oh, you did? I thought it was fine. I liked it.
Warcraft?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was hoping. And
I liked it.
And that's coming from someone who knows nothing about World of Warcraft.
Oh, you weren't like
Warcraft.
totally confused by it or anything?
No, I think they did pretty good.
I thought so too.
Yeah.
I thought they did a good job like bringing in newcomers.
Yeah.
A lot of people were just like, I don't know what the hell is going on. I hate this.
I mean,
I liked it.
If you pay attention to a movie, it usually tells you what you need to know.
And that movie does tell you what you need to know. You do need to pay attention though.
I love Moon. I think it's a good movie.
Moon's good.
Spoiler alert for Moon. It's a movie about a guy who's sent up to the moon to do a very like mundane like job. So they send this guy on a 2-year shift to do this job, and towards the end, he starts getting really sick and sweaty and greasy, which is why he's perfect for it. A greasy motherfucker. And then he realizes, because another one of him shows up, that he might be a clone.
Yeah.
And that these clones,
they die.
Basically, they expire after 2 years. So that they tell these clones, they're all Sam Rockwell. They tell them that, like, you're going to be there for 2 years and then you get to go home to your family. And he has pictures of his family and recordings.
Man.
And they also tell him that you can't call home because the satellite's down. So then
it's a little sketchy.
Oh, it sucks. So he goes and, like, fixes a satellite. And then he realizes that, like, he calls home and then he answers it.
He's there.
He's not. He realizes he's not the original. And he's working with the new one. And the new one's, like, all crisp and fresh. And he's all like sweating and coughing and shit.
It's
good movie.
Yeah. Does a good job going into the whole like not ethics of like clones and stuff, but like how would a clone feel?
It's a very interesting way of like looking
if they found out they were a clone.
Yeah. It's a very interesting way of looking at your mortality.
Yeah.
And you're like, what's the human experience about? Like, what is my purpose on, in life?
This is another thing that I want to say that the Clone Wars show explores really well.
Maybe I'm not there yet.
The whole like...
Well, I was going to say Invincible.
The whole like being like... maybe not the mortality part of it, but the whole like... knowing that you are a clone of somebody else, but you're still, in a weird way, an individual.
Okay, yeah.
But it's like a weird area there. Yeah.
I like the one that defects early on.
Oh, and he like has his own little family and stuff. Yeah.
And they're like, "What do you mean? Like you're going against like your purpose?" And he's like, "I'm living my life."
He's just like, "I'm a person."
Like, fuck off.
Yeah.
Like, leave me alone. I'm not fighting this war anymore.
No, I like the idea of that.
Yeah. I was gonna say Invincible because they have those clones.
Yeah.
Yeah, you finished
the clone brothers.
Yeah.
Where
'Cause
they
they're-
just keep cloning
They
each other.
keep cloning each other, and they never know which is the original, and they
argue
who's
about
the
it,
original.
yeah.
But they do it on purpose because later on he reveals we can't know who's the original and who's the clone, otherwise it'll fuck everything up.
Yep.
So they purposefully stay in the dark.
And they do have like a little moment there where it's like knowing you're a clone kind of fucks you up a little bit.
Right. There is a moment in that show where someone gets cloned. Going in, he doesn't know if his consciousness will be the one that survives or the clone.
Right.
Or the clone of the one that's going
I
to
think
die.
the concept is like it's like copied over.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So one person just awakens and the other person is still in the original body. It's a lot like they do it in Prestige.
The Prestige.
Prestige, yeah. Where he keeps cloning himself and he never knows if he's going to be the clone or he's going to be the original because he keeps killing the clone
Yeah.
in his magic trick.
Which is fucked.
And it's fucked because he doesn't know if when he wakes up he's going to be the one with the gun or the one in the tank.
Also, like, just that idea that, like, yeah, you're a clone, but you still have your own thoughts and feelings.
Yeah,
You're
you're
still
still
a
the
person.
same person. No, specifically the same person.
Which is, I can't wrap my head around that. It's
Yeah. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Anyway, that movie Moon is really good. Explores those themes a lot. Anyway, Sam Rockwell. I didn't see his 3 Billboards outside Ebbing, Missouri. Didn't see that.
That's a long title.
Yeah, it's apparently a good movie. But Vice, I want to see. Like we said again, Jojo Rabbit. Check that out. It's a good movie, and he's
All
really
right.
good in it.
He's married to Leslie Bibb, who was also an Iron Man.
Oh my God, I didn't know that.
Yeah, she's
I don't know that actor by name. Leslie, but she's the reporter.
that he's trying to flirt with in Iron Man 2.
Right, but she slept with Tony
Tony.
Stark in the first one.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, she plays Christine Everhart.
Yep. She's also in The League a little bit.
And Tony Stark's like Brown Berkeley. Ah, so close.
Yeah.
That's so funny that they're married. Oh
I
my
can
God.
kind of see it too.
I had no idea.
She plays a lot of like silly roles too.
Okay, cool. Sam Rockwell, keep or cancel.
Keep him because
Keep.
he's a very good actor.
Easy.
Yeah, he hasn't done anything terrible that I know of. Seems like he just kind
This
of
was an
does his
easy
job.
Yeah, like I said, I didn't want to
Yeah,
go
this is
into the whole Corey Feldman landmine. I don't know. Fuck that shit.
Also, we'd probably end up pissing some people off with that.
I don't know enough about him to care. I'm gonna be honest. So Sam Rockwell, keep. Let's move on to our next segment. Phantom Zone final thoughts.
Oh, absolutely.
Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
I am not sending this into the Phantom Zone.
So you
I'm
like this movie?
Yeah, I do enjoy this movie, and like I said, I guess I either was too young when I saw this movie, or I didn't see this movie and I only saw like the second and third ones, because this felt like I was watching a new movie, which was honestly kind of wonderful.
Yeah, I'm glad you like it, honestly, because
Yeah.
this is a movie where, like I said, I love this film. It's always been hard for me to tell, am I being biased or is this movie great? You know what I mean? And I think the more I think about it, I try to be as objective as possible. I think this movie is very good.
I think so too.
I think this is how you do a low budget, especially like superhero movie. Like this is about vigilantes. It has got strong themes. They're not overly focused on like, all right, like what's the plotting? What's the action beats? What are, you know what I mean? It's
Right.
not like some of these movies where like, all right, we're going to reverse engineer from the action set pieces. You know, we got to have Captain America do this thing on this. He's a bad example because all his films are great. But
We gotta have Ghost Rider.
we gotta
on
have
this
Ghost
highway.
Rider do this thing. He's got to be in his motorcycle. He's got to be with the horse and the thing.
But how do we get there?
Exactly. How do
Yeah.
we reverse engineer it? This isn't one of those. It's just very thematically focused, this film. What are the themes? What is the story we're trying to tell? It's about 4 brothers. It's about fatherhood. It's about family. Okay, how do we get there? Like, that's the focus. And for those reasons, I think this is a great film. I think it holds up because even the dated references are dated in a good way. They're referencing the best of the 80s and the 90s, not like the worst. So like compare
Yeah.
some of this to like, say, we saw another movie made in 1990, Captain America, that was much lower budget probably. But that had some of the worst of the time period, I want to say.
Even though
Like,
we did also
even though I
enjoy
like that movie.
Yeah.
Yeah. But we were, you know, it's that mindset where I'm like, I know this is not going to be a great movie. I still enjoy it. I think it's overall okay.
Right.
Right. But We were talking about the music in that movie and how bad it was because it was cheap.
Yes.
And you compare that to the music in this movie, which is fantastic. Why? Because it's good music from the era. It's still music from that era, but it's good music from the era.
Right.
Even the MC Hammer song at the end. No one hates MC Hammer.
As fuck as it is, it's still
People
good.
love MC Hammer. You know? The next movie has Vanilla Ice. Not as good. See? That's the thing.
That's the crazy thing, though. That's the part that's in my brain still is the Vanilla Ice with the go ninja, go ninja, go.
Ninja. Yeah. That's in the next one. But there's a really good MC Hammer turtle rap in this movie. And I think it's called Turtle Rap. I think it's a different song, actually. But look, this is, I think, one of the best representations of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. And something that I didn't mention earlier on when we were talking about this. And we have 4 movies here we're going to cover.
Are we doing the animated one?
Yes.
Okay.
Because it's technically part of this franchise, even though it's an animated movie. Yeah.
I was actually looking it up. It was supposed to get sequels that got canceled.
It was going to get 2 more sequels, yeah. So we got a lot of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles talk, so we're going to get into other kind of things or whatever. But this is the franchise that is probably has the most iterations for a single IP.
Yeah.
And it maybe competes with Batman and Spider-Man, who's had
X-Men?
a lot of... No, I think X-Men's fewer.
Really?
This has 4 TV shows, 5 TV shows.
Okay.
4 cartoons, 1 live action.
Oh, yeah.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5,
They had a crossover
6.
of Power Rangers.
Exactly. 6 movies, of which are 3 different iterations.
Okay.
So what are we at? 9 already?
Yeah.
No, 8 plus 2 different comic iterations. If you want to get into comics.
X-Men might be up there. They have a few TV shows that you might have forgotten about.
They have like 3 TV shows.
There's one called I think just called Mutants. There's Legion.
I mean, if you count Legion.
Legion's 100% X-Men.
Okay, sure.
It's about Professor Xavier's son.
All right, sure. But that's not a reiteration. It's not like you see Professor... Anyway, not right. The Ninja Turtles,
It doesn't count.
It's a different iteration every 4 or 5 years, is what I'm saying.
Oh,
and
yeah.
film is different than TV.
Especially
There's
once
no
Nickelodeon
crossover.
took over. They've rebooted the cartoon God knows how many times.
Right.
Yeah.
So I want to say we should talk about one of the cartoon series every time we do one of these. No time. But maybe
we
next
talked a
time.
little bit about the 1980 cartoon.
Yeah, because I watched 2 episodes for fun. But we'll get into it next week, maybe.
Yeah, maybe I'll watch some of the 2000s cartoons.
Yeah, you should. It's not bad. It's honestly pretty good.
That's the one that's a little bit more edgy, too.
Yeah. But again, overall, absolutely not in the Phantom Zone. This is a movie that holds up, is what I'm saying. Even with its 90s kind of cheesiness,
Yep.
It's not overly cheesy. It is the best of the 90s, in my opinion.
When I was watching it, Blake actually walked into the room. My friend Blake, for those of you who don't know, we were saying this movie looks good for 1990. He thought it would have been late 90s.
No, that's what we're talking about, the cinematography.
Yeah.
It's shot so well. You can see the effort put into specifically the blocking, the shot composition, how everything's lit. Those montages do so much and so little.
Some more thoughts on this movie. I think this movie was way better than it had any right to be at the time.
No, absolutely. And
this
for
is
the budget.
Just think about it. This was based on a very niche comic and also a fairly popular cartoon aimed at children. And this was the result, and it was, like I said earlier, the best case scenario that could have happened with this, because this could have been one of the worst movies ever.
I think it's better than both. I think it's better than the comic and the cartoon. I've only read just 1 issue.
I would say
I'll
it's
read
better than
more.
the cartoon, because the cartoon is, as much as I loved it when I was a kid, it is too kiddie, I think.
Have you seen it recently?
Not recently.
I watched an episode, and it's pretty funny. There's some jokes that are for the adults.
Really?
Yeah. There's a
Okay.
part where they go to... So they do the backstory for Shredder and Splinter's master. And the reason Hamato Yoshi gets kicked out from the foot in the first place is because Shredder takes a dagger and he puts it on his shirt to the wall. So when the master comes in, Yoshi can't bow because he's stuck onto the wall.
Oh,
It's so goofy.
What the-
And then so he can't bow. So then he's like, shit, there's a dagger behind me. So he pulls the dagger out. And then the guards are like, he's trying to kill the master. So they grasp him. He's like, no, it's a misunderstanding. And so they go to the master. And he's like, what should we do? And the master's like, kick that bum out. That's what he says.
So everyone in the Foot Clan's a fucking idiot.
But it's intentionally silly.
Right, because it's made for kids.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, but some of that humor, I'm like, that's for adults. Like, get the bum out of here. I don't know.
Kick the bum out of here.
I thought it's a little bit for both, but I think it's silly in a good way is my point.
What's the cartoon available on?
YouTube.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, a lot of those episodes are just on YouTube.
Gotcha.
I don't know how many, but anyway, back onto, I'm just saying, this is a good movie. Check it out. If you've never seen it before, especially. I can't speak for the sequels because I haven't seen them since I was a kid. I'm excited about
I think consensus is they get worse as they go.
Yes. Yeah. And it's such a shame. I would have loved to see, because like I said, this movie needed to be fleshed out a little bit more. I would have loved to see more exploration in this.
Like a real continuation of this.
Yeah. Not the kind of dumbed down versions that we got. So that's a shame. And I hope there is another Ninja Turtles, a new one coming out.
I actually just read from Seth Rogen.
Seth Rogen. Yeah.
He's doing a lot of nerdy stuff.
Yeah, but it will be animated, and I think that's dumb because Ninja Turtles in the animation is kind of saturated. Like there's a new cartoon every 5 years.
Yeah.
Where they're on their 4th cartoon now. You know what I mean? And there was an animated TV show. I know you're still going to check
out this movie, though.
Obviously, I'm going to watch the movie. But I'm saying they should really explore something in the more live action realm.
I'd like to see something in just any other media that goes more like comic book route with the Ninja Turtles. I'd like to see something a bit more
like this is what I'm saying.
Maybe a bit more comic book than this, though.
But some of the comics gets really dark, though.
I wouldn't mind seeing that.
Have you heard about The Last Ronin?
No.
I kind of want to tell you about it next week, but you're going to Google it. So The Last Ronin is a new comic in the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. It's the new last few months.
Oh, okay.
So new. So it's a flash forward series in the Ninja Turtles where there's only one turtle left.
Aw.
It's kind of post-apocalyptic in that sense.
So it's like Old Man Logan?
Sorta. Yeah, there's one turtle left, and you don't know who it is. And he has all the weapons. He has katanas, he has sais. Yep, because they've all died, except for him. And you slowly see all the brothers' deaths in flashbacks. So you slowly figure out which one of them it is, because he's so jaded. He's depressed and he's out.
He lost his family.
Yeah, he's out like trying to avenge his brothers or whatever, that you can't quickly identify which of the 4 turtles it is, and that's part of the comic. I've heard
that's
I haven't read this, but I've heard really good things. But I also feel like you would benefit from like reading some of the IDW comic books,
getting to know this iteration of the characters
exactly.
better. Yeah.
But yeah, it is essentially like an Old Man Logan, except if Logan was, if his identity was ambiguous.
I remember one, it was probably like 6 years ago or so, where like, I think Rocksteady killed Donatello in one of the comics.
Wow.
But it was also a comic book, so I don't know if he like came back somehow.
Probably.
But they like cracked his shell open and everything. It was
Jesus.
Yeah. These comics are.
Yeah. I do want to read some of the IDW ones, the new ones. They're making regular ones too, in addition to The Last Ronin.
Right.
So it's just like a super flash forward.
It's almost like a limited series.
Yeah. Sounds really good.
Sounds interesting. I
and
probably would check it out.
I got spoiled. I know which turtle it is.
Don't tell me, because I kind of want to read it.
Yeah.
Watching this movie definitely piqued my interest for more turtle stuff.
Yeah. Same.
Whereas I was kind of like meh about it before. Not that I never disliked them or anything. It's just like, I feel like it had grown kind of stagnant.
Like I said, I saw pieces of each cartoon. I'm like, they're all good in their own way. I would say none of them are bad. I haven't seen the brand new one that just came out like last year.
With like the really weird animation style.
That's the one I'm like least interested in. But I watched the CGI one from Nickelodeon. That one was really good.
And I remember not wanting to watch that one because of the CGI like animation style.
But it's good.
Like well written and everything.
Yeah.
Okay.
I saw the whole first season.
Oh shit.
As an adult. I'm like, this was good. And I should have watched more, and it's probably on Paramount Plus actually.
Because it's
officially
a Nickelodeon.
It was on
cartoon,
Hulu, but it's probably on Paramount now. Yeah, so that's it. We went on these tangents.
Yeah.
But again, we have a lot of turtle talk coming. So we'll try to put that where it belongs in the next few episodes.
Yeah.
But yeah, guys, thank you so much for listening.
Yeah, and anybody who was watching us live, thank you for that as well.
Yes, again, we are live on Twitch. We record on Twitch. Keep in mind, this is live when we're on Twitch, so we've messed up a bunch of times. We took breaks, talked about what kind of drinks we were having.
It's an experience.
Yeah, we played with my dog. My wife showed up. All that stuff's going to get edited out of the final product. We refer to the chat when people talk. So if you want to be a part of this podcast, come on twitch.tv/ I don't know. It's in the links in the, you know where the links are. It's linked below.
Films from PZ.
I think that's what that is.
I think.
Probably. We should figure that out.
We should figure out all of our social media handles.
Yeah, it's Films from PZ. Twitch.tv/ Films from PZ. So anyway, thanks for subscribing if you subscribe on your podcast app. Thanks to that piano dude for a musical intro. Make sure you guys leave a rating or review on Apple Podcasts, or if you listen to this on YouTube, you can do that shit on YouTube.
If that's your preferred way.
Yeah, which leads me to my next point. All these episodes are available on YouTube. If that's how you like to listen to podcasts, you can do that. We're there, right? No video.
You can throw us on your TV.
Yeah. If you want to see our faces, you got to watch us on Twitch. That shit ain't on YouTube. You can find us on Instagram at Films from the Phantom Zone, and you can find us on Twitter at Films from PZ. If you want to yell at us, share your opinion, get into an argument, I would love to do that so much with you on Twitter. Please / thank you for telling a friend. If you've told a friend, if you're like, hey, there's a podcast about that Captain America movie you hate, you should listen to them hate on it.
Captain America movie, if you've even seen it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and if there's a movie that you maybe have heard about and haven't seen, guess what? We're probably gonna watch it for you.
Actually, yeah, totally. Otherwise, guys, if you like the show, if you like what you see, you can show on Patreon. There's nothing on there. So right now, if you just want to be cool and give us some money, you can.
We'll figure out tiers eventually.
Yeah, there'll be stuff. Don't you even worry. Other than that, guys, we will see you next week. What movie are we doing next week?
I'm assuming Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2.
Yes.
Which is Secret of
the
Ooze.
Ooze.
Yeah.
So it's more on their backstory. I think there's some retconning going on in there.
Starring Vanilla Ice.
Yeah, starring Vanilla Ice. Also, we are, and flash forward, keep or cancel. I don't have a keep or cancel, so I thought we got a bunch of interesting people we can talk about. We're going to be talking about Francois Chow.
Kevin Nash, the wrestler?
Nash, the wrestler.
Oh, fuck yeah.
I figured you'd get excited.
We can talk about Vanilla Ice. We can keep or cancel Vanilla Ice.
Oh, shit. I didn't even put Vanilla Ice on there. I'm an idiot. I put interesting people. I didn't write Vanilla Ice.
He's
Frank Walker, Kevin Clash.
Yeah,
you're probably right. I don't need to write that down. Frank Walker, Kevin Clash, Robbie Wrist. If you don't know who these people are, we're going to get into them. I think they're all the interesting people in lieu of one very famous person in this movie.
Kevin Nash was in the NWO.
He was. They were the bad guys, you remember?
They were the bad guys.
Other than that, guys, we'll see you next week.
See you guys.
Bye.